You need to sell some of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Model Club TV, episode 38. Wow, that was pretty good. Hi, everybody. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
I'm thrilled to be here with my red shirt.
That's red?
Well, it's like a red. Yeah,
it looks like mauve or.
Well, it's mauve. Whatever. Oh, I'm an art teacher, so I got to use the fancy.
Boy. All right.
Yeah. Whatever. Because all I wear is black, and black is black.
So, how was your New Year's? You have a good New Year's? Everything good so far in 2022?
Just been ducky.
Yeah, it sucks so far, but we'll get through it.
It's cold. It snowed.
It is. Yes. Yeah, it's cold. It's been cold. I like it cold though. So, you watch anything? Seen any movies?
Oh yeah.
Whoa! Write down. You watched something. What did you watch?
Watched a few things. All
right, let's go.
I don't know if you watched or not yet, so I won't go too deep into it.
Okay.
I think we watched the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai.
I watched the first 3.
Okay, and so far I'm not really impressed.
I know.
It's gone. You know, the first 2 seasons were really fun.
Yeah.
And it got crazy in the 3rd season, and it looks like we're headed for crazy again. So I don't know.
I kind of hope this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I really liked that first 2 seasons. Like it felt right. Like it felt like it was done the correct way, and then it just went nuts. And now it's
it just went crazy. Yes, I agree. So
right, we agree on something. We're starting the year off right. Look at that.
The wife and I finished watching the Peter Jackson epic Get Back, the Beatles.
The Beatles documentary. I can't watch that because I am not. I'm boycotting Disney Plus. So
okay, so
tell me about it. How much are you enjoying or enjoyed?
All right, so I'm a Beatles fan, and while I enjoyed it, you know, and seeing some of the interaction, and the songwriting process.
So just give for people who have no idea what you're talking about, what's the premise of the documentary? Like, what?
Well, the premise of it is the Beatles' last album, which was actually their second to last album recorded, Let It Be. They allowed a film crew in to film them, and they were going to do a TV show. They're going to do this whole album, and they were going to perform it live. And by the time they were done, it turned into the iconic rooftop concert, which was the last time they ever performed together.
Okay.
And they performed on the roof of the Apple studios, I think, for about 45 minutes. And the recordings from this led to the album Let It Be. But Let It Be was released after their actual last recorded album, which was Abbey Road. So if that's not confusing enough. So anyway.
And to confuse people even further, I am more familiar with the Laibach cover album of Let It Be than I am of the Beatles. So
of course you are.
Please, everyone, go look up Laibach's Let It Be.
So anyway, they had like 50.
Remind me to play that for you afterwards, because we can't play it on here. It'll get taken down. Anyway, all right.
They had 56 hours of footage here.
Okay. I know where this is going.
So, Mr. Jackson in his normal Gandalf fucking, let's make something 3 times longer than it needs to be.
Oh, you leave Pete alone.
Took something that could have been a cool, I'll go so far as to say 3 hours.
Okay.
And made it into 6 hours of just...
Hey, at least it wasn't 56 hours.
Well, that's because the director's cut isn't out yet. So...
We didn't plan that joke. That was pretty good. That was pretty quick.
So...
For the record, we don't plan any jokes on the show, and that was fast. Well done, Mr. Johansson. That was good.
So And just like King Kong, just like his King Kong. Okay. Which I absolutely just despise, except for the last 10 minutes of the film, I think are beautiful. With the exception of Naomi Watts not really acting like she's 100 stories up in the air and just kind of
we've
walking
covered
around.
this. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, and I'm like, I tell you what, go climb on the roof of your house and walk around like
Dude,
that.
it's scary.
And then tell me how you're going to be 100 stories up in the air. But
yeah.
Regardless, so the end of the film.
Spoiler alert.
No, it's not. Well, it is, but it isn't.
Spoiler alert, the Beatles break up. John Lennon gets murdered.
They had that's an extended version. So what they had is they had film of the entire rooftop concert. And they had cameras like down in their lobby of their building and on the street. And so what he did is like he did a split screen, kind of what you're looking at now, or sometimes 3 screens, and he synchronized them all. So you're like watching people's reaction to this as it actually happens. And they have a guy down in the street doing autographs, interviews, and asking people, hey, what do you think of this?
So since I don't know anything about this, did people know this concert was happening, or was it
nobody knew?
Okay.
They just got up there and started playing.
Showed up. Okay. What year was this?
69. I think January of 69.
Okay.
So that was really cool to see, like people looking up like, what the fuck is going on up there? And, but yet a lot of them knew who it was. And, so that was the best part of it. And it could have been 45 minutes long and been done. So,
but okay. If you had to give it a grade.
Only because it's the Beatles, I would give this a C. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe a C plus, just because it's cool seeing all the footage.
It made me want to watch it when I saw the trailer for it.
But I can tell you, I would never sit through it again in my life.
Yeah.
Okay. There's other Beatles documentaries out there that I've seen that to me are much better. Like the anthology thing is I think 6 hours long. And it covered their career start to finish. I'd much rather deal with that than watching Yoko Ono sitting there going,
oh wait, Yoko's in it? Do they all hate her in it?
Well, no.
You can't tell they hate her?
No, but I'll tell you, the longer we watched it, the more my wife didn't like her. I'll tell you that. Let's get her on too.
Have you ever seen, and I don't know, I'm sure you have, the video of John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and who's the Johnny B. Good dude?
Chuck Berry?
Is it Chuck Berry? All you got to do is type in Chuck Berry and John Lennon, Yoko screaming will show up. And
dude, he actually showed her screaming in the video. They were recording something and she was,
yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's Chuck Berry on stage with John Lennon and they're jamming out, doing a great job. And all of a sudden, Yoko just screams her head off in the background. And Chuck Berry looks around like, what's this bitch doing? What the fuck was that? It's the best video. Everybody please go look up Chuck Berry, John Lennon. I think if I don't know. I get it. I know what you're saying. So at some point I would like to watch it, but I don't think I probably will get a chance. So you watch anything else?
Wasn't that enough? No. I spent all my time watching that fucking 6-hour epic.
I started to keep on the Peter Jackson thing. I'm rewatching Lord of the Rings right now.
Why?
Because it's the 20th anniversary. And so I'm in the middle of Return of the King. I have something to admit.
Oh boy.
It could have been other reasons, but I fell asleep at the very end of Two Towers.
No, there's no reason. Okay. There's no reason.
Which did not happen when I was younger. But
so And just to piggyback on that, if I may, and I just pulled it up on our YouTube comments, Bucky St. Bucky ask Scott if he can name 3 Lord of the Rings movies. Well, I named them, and let me pass them on. There was the Fellowship of the Snooze, the 2 Naps, and Return of the Snooze Fest. And let's not forget the prequel, The Snooze It. Okay.
Some kid was talking about Harry Potter at school last semester. I was like, do not watch that. Watch Lord of the Rings. It's 10 times better. He comes up to me today. He's like, Mr. Walker, I'll start watching Lord of the Rings. I don't get it. It makes no sense.
He's right.
It's like, get out of here. Anyway,
Right.
I mean, I don't think I watched anything else. What did I watch? I watched the Joe Bob Briggs Christmas special, which was
What the fuck is that?
what? On Shudder. Joe Bob Briggs, the comedian, he had drive-in theater, and it's all horror. It's like Elvira, like horror host kind of thing. And he had it was Ice Cream Man and Gator Bait. I watched. That's all I watched. I think. No, I finished The Witcher season 2.
Boy.
It was pretty good. I think it was pretty good. So we'll leave it at that. New kits. Anything else new? Otherwise, other stuff.
Other
Do
stuff.
anything?
No, I will say that I guess I created a problem in the Gill household.
Oh no.
I got our friend Paul in trouble for calling him out for not sending us a picture of his dog. So in order to help him make up for this, we're gonna put one here of the dog in front of the Christmas tree, celebrating the holidays, and later on we'll stick another one in. Because I called him out for not even sending me a picture of the dog, and I think his wife hit him. So because she watches it with him,
Dotted his eye.
He loves to see the dog. So
Dotted his eye.
there's Bublik.
Wow. Okay. Here we go. As far as kits and things that have come out, it has been a weird couple weeks for me and a lot going on. So I have not been paying attention as much as I should. But John Deere sent both of us this, right?
Yes.
And the company name, Scott, is
Monsters from the Woods.
I like how you say that. This is Ardeth Bay, correct? Or am I wrong?
Right on top of things. Yes, it is.
Wow, look at that. I'm impressed with myself. This looks pretty cool to go along with his bride kit that's coming out.
Yeah, and we'll show that again here too.
Yeah.
Because it's almost ready. This is going to be a while still because he got them back to back. So, he's got to do the brides first, and then he will get to this. He's hoping the price will be $175 plus shipping. And this is really, really,
I like it
really
too. I'm going to be
nice.
picking this one up as well.
So I think I'm going to get the bride and this. And I wasn't going to get the bride. And then I looked at it again and I'm like, fuck. And it's like,
fuck, I can't wait to put this in a box on my shelf.
Yeah.
Just like me.
So anyway. But no, this is a really,
it is really nice.
Really nice kit. What I do like about it too is it's really compact. Like,
yep.
I'm sure it's 1/6 scale, but it's not a huge base or anything like that.
Does not take up a lot of space. And again, that is a plus all the time now for me when something is compact like that. What I have here.
Yeah, you bastard, because I was going to show this too because I saw this today. Okay,
so this is the guy that I'm on his Patreon. This is Carlos Eduardo, and it was his sneak peek of his Red Sonja coming out. So if you're interested, he hasn't put out the full pictures yet, but I really am digging this pose. He's on patreon.com/CA3D/posts. I think it'll come up, but I think just CA3D will come up. Or if you just look up Carlos Eduardo on Facebook, you'll find him. And I'll put a link in the description. But I'm pretty excited for that Red Sonja. That looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see the rest, but
everything I'm telling you as just history. His he does his sculptures he did a really nice Poison Ivy, a really nice Storm that are very realistic looking, instead of super comic booky that I really, really like. So and he did the 2 last week that I showed from Arcane, and I'm really hoping this kind of follows that same vein. So this is pretty cool.
I'm staring at boobs on a 3D sculpture.
Boobs.
Yeah, this is
looks
a really
cool.
cool.
All right, what you got from Well?
So
It's always Well.
he it's like I sent him a suggestion and like a week later he puts it out. So it's either coincidence or he likes my suggestions. This is from the Flintstones, the Gruesomes. They were their neighbors.
I do remember the Gruesomes.
And this is an awesome little piece. And it's available on CG Trader. I believe it's $40. And again, before you guys freak out about it, it's 3 figures. It's almost 4 figures. And so it's $40. If you have a printer, it's probably going to cost you $10 or $15 to print it, and go buy a model for $55. You can't.
You can't.
Okay. Now, if you have to have me print it for you, it's going to cost a little more. But hey, get a printer. Learn how to print.
I'll do it $5 less than Scott,
and save yourself some money. But this is an awesome little piece.
So, just a history in the Gruesomes. I'm trying to remember what was their deal.
They were just the Flintstones neighbors.
But why were they weird?
They're like an Addams family. I think it was more of an.
Were they trying to do an Addams family thing?
Yeah, I think it's. And I don't even know how many episodes they were on. It's a good question. So pause here and we'll talk about.
Pause. Pausing.
Oh, it's only 1 episode?
Really? All right.
So the Gruesomes are a monstrous but friendly family of reoccurring characters who appeared on the original series The Flintstone.
How are they reoccurring if they were there in 1 episode?
Well, okay, maybe I was wrong. They debuted in 1964 in the 5th season.
I was -10.
The Gruesomes during the show's run. Let's see. Inspired by the previous Hanna-Barbera monster family, Mr. and Mrs. J. Evil Scientist, the Gruesomes are a family consisting of married couple Weirdly and Creepella and their son Goblin, a.k.a. Gobby, and Uncle Ghastly, who is only seen as a hand coming out of the wall in The Hatrocks and the Gruesomes, and a shadow in Meet the Gruesomes. They are portrayed as being the stars of their own reality TV show. Okay, so there's a lot.
The Gruesomes. What else does Well have coming out?
That's it for Well.
Okay, what's this dog?
I'm sure Well has a way more coming out. And this is my other guy, Diego, who had been quiet for a while, but lately he's started again. He started taking my money again. And this is Hector and Kitty. I believe this is a Warner Brothers thing. So this is, again, a fun little piece. I think it's only $10. And again, man, support these guys. These are cool little pieces.
Sure. All right, Scott, you got anything else?
I do. And I think I mentioned this before. I talked to Mark Worthling last night, as a matter of fact. And these King Kong Thronester replacement parts are being molded now, or they are molded, and the molds are on the way to him. And this is for the Polar Lights King Kong's Thronester, which is an Aurora reissue kit. And rather than the right arm hanging on the side, this right arm is modified and will have Mark's Fay Ray figure.
Awesome.
In the hand. So he'll be driving, with the girl in the hand, and here's some pictures. And I just, I think it's a cool idea. I don't like modifying Aurora kits too much, but between Jeff's head and something like this kind of makes it better. So,
awesome.
This is kind of cool. And I just want to say, in talking to Mark yesterday, the Fay Ray has been really successful for him. And he gave me a number on it, and I don't want to repeat it because it's his business, but I'm going to tell you something. Okay. It was my idea.
How much did you made off of a commission?
It was my idea. I got nothing. I still even had to pay for mine, that cheap bastard. But no, I'm glad it worked out great for him. And I think those are still available too. He's burned through a ton of molds making those for people, but it's been
Hey,
really successful for
good
him.
for
And I'm
him.
happy Mark and
You know
Shannon.
what? He
They're good
actually got
people.
off his ass and casted something. So early bird catches the worm. One more thing on news and reviews. We have Steve Riojas, our old partner here at the beginning. He has a great new Pumpkinhead video up. If you want to see George's Pumpkinhead, I'll put a link up here to Steve's video. And it's over on his YouTube channel. You can follow it. It's always down below in our, like, I don't even know what it's called, friends list there. But cool new video with Steve's Pumpkinhead from George. So check that out.
That's all I've seen.
Yeah,
I've seen more, but it's been the holidays. It's been get back to work. It's just everything.
Yep.
So
I know how you feel. The workbench, Scott.
boom, boom, boom. So
okay, so I have 3 workbench pictures now to show since I built this workbench. And you'll see on this workbench picture on my FDM printer is I printed this.
Well, you attempted to print that.
I attempted to print this. But what it is, and it's made for bigger, there's a little insert you could put in there to raise up for regular size cans, but it's a can holder. It's like a cozy, but you can paint it. But this was 2 days and 8 hours to print. And if you notice up here on top of this, I was keeping all of my spools of PLA. And I was watching the 2 towers in the other room, and I hear this giant crash. And what happened was, I think from the printer moving back and forth, slowly made an avalanche of PLA onto the printer, and it caused this giant offset in the bottom. You can see that. And so it totally messed up the whole print right in the beginning, and it was kind of obscured from the supports. So it took me 2 days to figure out it was messed up. So I'm currently reprinting it, and we'll see. I'm also working on something else on the resin printer.
Is it printing right now?
Yep.
Wait, you can barely hear it.
That's because of my microphone, the way I have it set up.
Okay.
So you can see in this one
where you were storing the filament.
Yep.
So I'm looking at your workbench, and I happen to have the same one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of wondering, just why didn't you store the filament on the bottom?
It's there now.
Okay.
My plan was resin kit boxes were going to be down here on the bottom. But now I am now putting the PLA down there.
Well, or just glue a little ledge on there. So nothing
I was thinking of getting I don't know, maybe put it somewhere else. I like seeing all the colors up there. That was part of it. But yeah, it sucked. It sucked really bad.
Fucking gift. Okay, sorry.
In this workbench picture, you can see my Saturn printer and my building bench. But if you look near the Saturn printer, and I'll kind of zoom in on it, is the one print that I'm working on now from VX Labs called, I forget what it is, but it was a fundraiser he did. And then I've spent the last 2 weeks building a lot of miniatures on that bench. And my paint bench, I've done, you'll see there's something missing. I finished the baseball guys, and I forgot to take a picture. So I don't have them. But that's what I've been doing workbench-wise. I did pick up some Mission Models paint, and I figured to try it out, I'd get some primary colors in black and white. And it says it's airbrush ready out of the bottles. American-made paint. I've tried some of the black so far. I have not tried, I airbrushed it, but I did have to put a little bit of thinner in there. It might spray straight out of the bottle, but I really think you do need to thin it down a bit. It brushes on really nice and covers really well. I haven't tried with the white yet, which was what my thing is. But these were about, I think, $5 or $7 a bottle. And you get it's a lot of paint in that one bottle versus you're paying pretty much the same thing for a paint pot from Citadel. But again, American Paint Company, figured I'd give them give them a try. So I'll let people know more as I use them. But Mission Models, I think most hobby stores are carrying them now, and the Hobby Town has it. They have it out in Joliet
Really?
I've seen them everywhere. Yeah.
Oh, when
There's
did
a
you
big
go there?
rack over at Hobby Town. A couple weeks ago.
Went
And
to
I just
Joliet
forgot-
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it
I was on my way
incredible?
home from somewhere else. That I invite you.
Never invite them.
Anyway, that's my workbench, Scott.
Well, as everyone knows, I've had some trouble with my 3D printer. And I think I finally I put this automatic thing on there that reads the bed leveling.
Mm-hmm. So you don't
Jason
have to
called
do it by
me.
hand, and it's cheating.
Okay.
It's cheating.
Right.
It's
Well, I'm
cheating.
going to tell you something.
It's cheating.
I will cheat all day if I can print something like this. Okay.
I agree. That's pretty cool.
Now, those of us that are not into 3D printing, okay, this is a very popular print right now. Took 17 hours to print. Okay. And as you can see, it's very flexible. Now, the cool thing about this is there's no assembly required. Okay. This comes straight off the printer like this. Okay. When you pull it off the printer, it immediately
Just works.
is, yeah.
Do you think that guy's a millionaire at this point?
I don't know, $4. I don't know what it cost me in filament,
Hold on,
But-
it's off camera right now. All right, there you go.
but it prints like this. And I got to tell you, I play with this thing every day. It's sitting on my desk and I'm always just moving it around.
At least
and,
it keeps
and-
your hands from other places.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can see, but
Yeah.
there's some good detail in there.
Yeah.
Now, this is a filament printed piece, so there are build lines, and I don't think the camera's going to pick them up. But,
Well,
Th-
even like on my orc mug, where did I put it?
but just
okay.
the fact that this is just moves like this right off the printer is amazing to me.
So this is also, and I mean, you on the teeth you can see the lines, but on the skull part, it's really hard to see those lines.
And there's another setting. We could print them finer and see
Yeah.
them less.
But
So I just wanted to print this thing just because. And I had this, I was printing everything in blue, but I had this silver I'd try out, or this gray. And yeah, I love it. I can't listen.
it looks cool.
Playing with it. Even when we did it, we're doing our interview in a little bit. And while he was talking, I was like fidgeting with this thing.
It's
So,
your little
like,
fidget. You need one of those.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So
Cool. I'm glad you
And
got
I
it
think
worked
I've
out
got the-
though.
I've got the printer dialed in pretty good now.
Any movement on the duck?
No, I just haven't got back to 3D printing. I fixed Tony's motherboard this weekend, so I got that off my plate.
Any movement on the big Galuna?
No, neither. But that's hopefully the next stuff that's on the docket, because I want to just start getting my 3D printing going again. Yeah, I should be getting. I'm like all caught up with all my bullshit, so it's
Yeah. That's yeah.
hopefully I can get to work up there and.
Well, that's like I just started building all those miniatures. I'm trying to just get everything built and get all these boxes just gone and put them all in like, because I have like magnetic trays I'm going to do it, but I want to just get all this stuff done. I had to do a project for my brother. I had to do the baseball guys. I had to do something else for somebody else. And it's like, I just want my time back. And I think I'm at that point. And then being sick didn't help. And now there's some other stuff going on. So it's just been, I don't want to sound like we're complaining, but it's been busy and stupid. Our guest today, Scott, is Eric Askue. And Eric reached out to us after our last big 3D printing episode. He wanted to like talk about some stuff, some safety and some stuff he's working on and how to use ZBrush. This is a deeper dive than we did before, and there is a lot of really good just kind of information in there. It is very informative, I think, if you sit and watch.
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff. Great sculptor, knows his ZBrush back and forth. he's worked on a ton of stuff. Some of the other pictures he showed me before, and it was I think, very informative interview. And Scott, before we move on, anything you want to say?
No, other than this is really 3D printing involved.
Yes.
And for the fans of the show that are not that interested, this portion of the show might not be for you. I never want to say don't watch it because we want to watch
we want everybody to see this.
but
But that being said, there's some very cool garage skid stuff in there too, in terms of positivity.
And again, just more information on how these things are created and what goes into it. I think he thought I was falling asleep on him, but I was just mesmerized. Anytime I watch someone do ZBrush, I'm just mesmerized. I'm just like,
yeah.
So
yeah, please. I mean, again, give it a chance. We loved it. We love everything that was going on in here, and we'll talk to you when it's over. All right, we're here with Eric Askue, our wonderful guest. Hey, Eric, how are you tonight?
Doing good. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great. And Scott, how are you? Are you still doing okay?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm here too, Eric. Yeah, hi, I'm here too. Thanks.
Good to see you again, Scott.
For those, we just had a good half-hour conversation, so we had to start recording before we missed anything. So Eric reached out to us the last time we did our 3D printing episode, and he just wanted to share some further information. Then we got to talking, and he has done a ton of cool stuff. Eric, you want to give a brief history about yourself to everyone? We have a mutual friend, Ed Bradley. I've known Ed since Wonderfest. I don't even know, but I think you're a lot closer with Ed than I am. So if you want to give any sort of history or background of where you came from, what you're doing, and have at it.
Just real quick, I have 2 degrees, one in fine arts and one in computer animation. I taught university for 6.5 years for digital sculpting for games and film, and while I was there, I got into 3D printing on the most horrible machine to work with, which was a PolyJet. But it really got me started because I also met, because I was working with Disney people, I got to meet through the Disney people, I got to meet people like Tony Cipriano, who gave me advice on getting started, which was really amazing. And I used to bug the hell out of him. But yeah, I did scenic work, and then I learned about molding and casting, and I started getting into toys, and I started really pursuing that on the side. And for the last decade, I've been doing 3D printing and working with molding and casting people and making products for different people, different companies, different organizations. Recently, I was doing tabletop terrain and tabletop assets for 3D printing. I was selling files, and my business partner passed away last year, not of COVID, but of complications. He had a liver transplant, and he ended up passing away because of that. And now I'm getting back into statues and figures. I'm working with Ed Bradley, who I've known long since before I got into tabletop terrain. And I'm also working with George Stevenson, who is extraordinary. And a very good friend of mine, T.O. Rick Cantu, has always been my advocate and pushing me to pursue this line of work as a 3D artist and as a toy and statue maker. I've done several custom pieces for him. In fact, I'm hoping that he will come out to Wonderfest this year. Ed and I've already started lining up a table for Wonderfest. We're trying to get 4 of my personal pieces ready for that, but we're gonna have a joint table.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the broadest strokes of what I do.
Cool.
There's more. There's much more.
That was Polyscan. You said was the first printer you worked with.
It was called. It's called PolyJet, and it uses a powder matrix, and it's basically the same thing as a 2D printer. So it's like it's a head that goes back and forth, and it sprays a binder. It's not a glue; it's a binder into a powder matrix, and then it scrapes a layer of powder on top of it, and then it goes over with the binder again. In fact, the very first toy I did the old way, which was, well, I did a combination of the new way and the old way. I sculpted this guy in the computer.
Okay.
And it was done in polyjet, and then I took the polyjet, I made a sacrificial mold, and I cast it in jeweler's wax. I used the recipe out of Pop Sculpture, and I was this was before I got to meet Mr. Bruckner, Tim Bruckner. Tim's been really kind, but he's also kind of shy. But Tim, I every time Tim pops his head up, I support him because his book really helped me get started in making toys. But
I think we got Tim lined up. I think we got Tim lined up to come on at some point.
I tried to get him on my podcast when I was doing it, and he was like, "I don't really want to," and I was like, "Come on."
It's taken us a while, but I think we're there.
He's a really, really great guy,
and an amazing sculptor. Like really,
yeah.
He was up by Rob Madison.
Yeah,
and him and Rob are pretty good friends too, I think. So Rob's trying to get him to come on for us. And
I had the reason I asked about that printer is because it was probably 10 years ago now. A guy who was an art student at the Art Institute of Chicago contacted me and wanted me to paint a print that he had done of some anime. So, and it really drove me up a wall because he showed up with this anime figure that had all these pieces, and he had it in like a jewel bag, and just handed it to me, and it was in 30,000 pieces. And he goes, "Well, it didn't print right and it broke. I need you to fix it too." And I was like, "What?" And this was before it was the first 3D printed thing I've ever touched. And when I picked it up, you could just like scrape the layers off by hand. Like it was made out of like cellulose or something really weird. Yes. And I've never known to this day what it was made out of.
So what you're describing,
then it just drove me crazy because I'm like, here's an Art Institute of Chicago art student, like gonna be famous artist at the Art Institute, and I'm here fixing his stupid project that he paid another guy to sculpt and print. It was just his idea, and then he was gonna put it out there as his artwork, and I was like fuming over it. I'm like, no, I can't do this, and I sent it back to him. But do you know what that sounds like? What is that?
That is polyjet, and what he didn't do was he didn't. It sounds like he didn't finalize it. So this is what I was going to tell you. When you print something in that system, and I don't think that you can buy that system anymore. But when you print in that system, the binder just holds it together. So it's almost the same thing as a sugar cube. You get it moist. You look at it the wrong way, and it just dissolves. But what we would do is we would get a large container of cyanoacrylate glue, and you would go through an infusing process, and you'd sit there and drip cyanoacrylate glue. Man, I thought I burned every hair out of my nose from the heat and fumes coming off that glue.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to be doing this outside at a respirator. And I was just so enamored and in love with the process of having a sculpture that. Because this is the other thing. I coined a phrase, and I want to mention this too. I coined a phrase that relates to working with a tablet and a 3D printer, and it also relates to babies. And I want to write a Wikipedia article about it, but I don't think anybody would give a shit. We can swear, can we?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
It's called tactile dislocation. When you're pregnant and your baby is here, it's like, oh, it's here. And the same thing with a 3D print. You work on it for months in the computer, and then it's in your hands, and it's like, oh wow, there's a tactile dislocation with that. Same thing with working with a tablet. You and I talked a little bit about that in private, because you can't touch the object. You're interfacing with it at a distance, and that's why when I was finalizing my cellulose print, I wasn't paying attention to my safety, which is something we're just bitching about, and I should have been, but thankfully cyanoacrylate is not the worst thing in the world. So yeah,
no. I've had a lot of problems with that at some point. I don't think I've ever gotten it in my eyes. I've got it on my tongue before. I got it on my tongue.
Why? What do you mean you got it on your tongue?
I got glue on my tongue before, I think.
Oh, jeez, that sounds horrible.
This guy is a safety film. Okay. This guy is a walking safety film, Eric. Okay.
I can't be the only one Leave it in the comments below. I cannot be the only one that has ever gotten super glue on their tongue. There's no way.
I'm pretty sure that my dad has gotten that stuff because he's one of those guys that he can't work on something without having his tongue sticking out of their mouth.
I don't even know how it happened. I don't even. Oh well.
Yeah.
But it's never been in my eyes. The fumes have been in my eyes, but I have never actually got glue in my eyes.
favorite is watching guys with grinders grinding metal, and they won't wear safety glasses. And it's like, I don't even care if I'm home. Okay, if I'm grinding something, the safety glasses are going on. Okay.
I just because of the exact reasons we were talking about with the pressure pots and some of the other chemicals, I just bought a 2-pack of safety goggles that I can wear over my glasses, and I'm ecstatic about these because
since
I
we're
also
here,
run a chainsaw.
Let's talk safety.
Yeah.
Safety for 3D printing. A lot of guys and a lot of women are getting into it. We're into it. We're dipping our toes in the water. What, like, safety, out of all the things you've done, what have you learned throughout the years? Best safety protocols for 3D printing and resin? Because I don't think FDM's a real problem.
FDM does have some minor
but
problems,
not much.
but it's mostly due to outgas.
Yeah.
This is the thing that most people don't realize, and I really wish that more people did. Everything outgasses. You know that new car smell? It's foam and plastics outgassing.
Toxic. People don't realize it. It's toxic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And same thing. And some of those smells are cleaners, but generally speaking, it's all of that stuff that's going on.
Scott, have you ever come home from work smelling like that? Like, does the place smell like that?
No, it's dumb. Okay, it
doesn't smell like that.
No. I don't even know how the car can smell like that coming out of there, to be honest. Okay.
So you asked a question.
Yeah.
I will say this. Bare bones minimum. Have a dedicated room for your printing. Please wear gloves at the very least, and ventilate as often and as regularly as possible. There's 100 other things you can do. It depends on your level of how much you want your home to be or your workshop to be. I say home because my workshop isn't also my home.
Mine too.
Yeah, it depends on how much you want to protect yourself and those around you. If you have animals, I know a lot of people that run resin printers and they let their dogs run around, and that horrifies me because I know that the active ingredient in your resin for a 3D printer is stupidly toxic. They tell you don't get it on your skin. They tell you don't expose it to UVs. If you do get it on your skin, you wash yourself. They tell you don't get it in cuts. If you get it, there's all sorts of. So every chemical you buy should come with, and there's another acronym for it, but it used to be called a safety material data sheet. I know a lot of people that work with chemicals that don't bother reading those, and it's bad news. It's bad news if you ingest it and force yourself to vomit, and it says don't do that. You've just made the situation worse. It's like, oh, I'm on fire. Let me pour gasoline on this and put it out. More gasoline should make it go out just great. I worry about this stuff because when I was teaching, I had just finished going to Reynolds Advanced Materials and picking up clays and some new resin, and I was inspecting some silicone that I wanted to use. I had asked the supplier about it. Is there any food grade silicone? Because I had people talking to me about things related to that. And no less than a week later, I had students make a chocolate mold, or a mold for making chocolate, with some off-brand silicone. They didn't read the safety material data sheet. And what was worse is that they didn't know that on the market there was only 3 known food safe silicones at that time that were being sold. And I was just like, you guys are going to poison somebody and you're going to lose everything you ever cared about.
True.
I have to sidetrack here.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to go on such a long rant about something.
Have you ever seen
me.
Have you ever seen, Jason, you could edit this out.
Oh no.
But have you ever seen, and there were ads on this at one point on Facebook even, I think, the people that would mold their buttholes
Oh
and
yeah.
make chocolates
And turn them into chocolate.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, first of all, okay, no matter what you do. See, and this doesn't matter to Jason because he eats out of the garbage and toilet. But no matter what
I
you
thought
do,
you were going to tell me that he has a crater for a butthole, but all right.
that, well,
I'd eat butthole chocolate. I think I would.
But the thing is, at some point, that mold was on someone's butthole. Okay. All right. At
Throw
some
some
point, there
alcohol
was
in there.
no
It's fine.
barrier.
It's fine.
No barrier. It was butthole and rubber.
No,
okay.
that's all right. Throw alcohol in there. You're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's
I
better.
can't talk about what I want to say anyway. So
it's good to be lighthearted about shit. I'm sorry that I get really worked up about safety because I just see people being dumbasses. So
no, well, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I went outside the other day, and I've got this neighbor lady, and she's clearing out the brush in front of her house, and she's cutting trees down. And I go out there, it's snowing like crazy. She's on the rung one down from the top, reaching over her head with a pole saw. Okay. She's in mud. She's not. And I'm like, I'm
You just
looking
got
out
your
the
camera out and start filming, right? That's what I
No,
would
I'm telling my wife, I'm like, I want to scream at her so bad. She goes,
Oh,
no,
man,
you'll
me
scare
too.
her and she'll fall off. And thank God her brother lives next door, and her brother came home, and next thing I know, he was out there, and I'm like, thank God, because it's like she's fearless. And we talked about this off camera too, is when you don't know and you're fearless, that's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna say I'm just gonna say this one more time. Please wear gloves. Please ventilate as often as you can. Everything fucking outgasses.
Yeah. And even stuff that
Just-
says it's non-toxic. Like there's some stuff, the safety solvent for AVs. I used so much of it when I was working on my master's degree. It bothers my skin now, and it's supposed to be non-toxic. And it's hard.
Non-toxic doesn't mean it's not
Right,
an
and that's what I'm
irritant.
saying. Like it doesn't. But for me, it's hard for me to use putty or anything with gloves on because you can't do what you want to do. And so I always use that barehanded, but now it's just like, oh man, it really starts to irritate my skin.
Yeah,
it's like built up.
I
over
gave you a
time.
tip though.
Mm.
Do you remember?
No, I forgot. A lot going on.
I know you have a lot going on. So my tip is that when you're sculpting, if you're sculpting rough with tools, once you get to the part where you need to detail sculpt, get a piece of cling film or saran wrap and put it on there, and then you can manipulate the surface with your thumbs and in your hand very easily. You can use your fingernails, and that's a technique I picked up from the Stan Winston School book, or the Stan Winston book. It's a great technique, especially for making wrinkles, and it's a really great way of doing things. You're not the only one though that has skin issues, dermatological issues with some of these things. I know a couple of different people I've talked to who have developed eczema. I know a couple of people who one of the people in our community who everybody would know their name if I mentioned it. He is currently going to the doctor and getting checked out because he says he's basically got 2 different types of rashes, and they're coming together to create something horrible.
No.
It's bad news if you do not protect yourself. I will say this too. One of the nastiest things in the world, I thought the arsenic in certain styrofoams when I was getting into the scenic industry was scary. But the thing that scared me even more was vinyl. Apparently, if you use vinyl and you're doing a slush mold and you're getting that stuff on you and contaminating yourself with that stuff, it can F up your glands something fierce. And apparently some men have developed memories and what have you from working with vinyl, and it really messes up their genomes. And some people have gotten cancer directly linked to it, and I'm like, I won't touch that stuff.
I don't want the cancer.
Yeah.
Maybe never.
This is really scary. Can we talk about something else?
Let's do it. All right. So what are you working on currently? What are you working on? What are you doing with Ed? What are you working on? And then we can hit on ZBrush towards the end here, I think. So what are you working on? You want to show us some stuff You want to talk about some
let me.
stuff? And
I want to show you. I want to show you the model I'm currently working on. I'm trying to finish this model up. A client hired me. So this is a private client. This is the best client I've got going.
okay,
Give me a second. My software's decided it's going to save.
of course.
That's all right. I've watched the Cipriano videos. It saves every fucking minute or two. It's like,
Well, I need to. I'm shopping. I'm window shopping for a new computer. I'm going to sink some real money into a new machine because of the things that I want to do. Plus, I teach. I teach from time to time. I've got a few students. In fact, I've got a young guy. Actually, he's about my age, I should say. And I'm teaching him how to make action figures.
Okay.
And that's pretty exciting. But this is my current client piece, and it's colossal. It's a 1/4 scale Black Panther coming in and attacking this guy here.
Wait a minute, quarter scale?
My client is pretty cool, but he's like, this is what I want. And
Is he one of those superhero quarter scale guys that everything has to be solid quarter scale?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't ask those questions. I am a mercenary.
Scott and I know those guys. Okay. All right.
You hire me, I go make it. I don't ask the questions.
All right.
But we extended the base here. We're going to be doing, because he really wanted the secondary character. The tree has got gods of Wakanda sculpted into it. Here's one of the gods here. So it's got these masks sculpted into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna run a brass or steel rod into the leg here and into the tree. And I would have liked to done more stuff with the tree, but I'm running out of time and I need to get this thing finished. But this is supposed to be based off of the comic version, not the MCU version. So we didn't do all the crazy patterns. We just did some trim lines. Yeah, we're gonna offer. We're gonna hopefully put this out as a proper statue for people to purchase. I'm gonna have a copy of this. I should have a copy of this at Wonderfest.
Okay.
But yeah, and we're gonna be doing some cool stuff with this. But basically, I'm going through the process now. Once I'm finished sculpting this guy, because I'm not done with him, I just noticed I dorked up the knee. I'm going to be going through the process of cutting up the model into pieces so that it'll fit in the 3D printer that we're going to be printing with. And Ed's going to be painting it. Ed Bradley's going to be painting it.
Oh, cool.
For the client.
I don't like
that.
So I have a question. So you say I'm sculpting this, it's quarter scale.
Yeah.
Okay. So
this is a good question.
Obviously, Jason and I have printed stuff. There's a lot of things you can just shrink, or you could shrink that to 1/6 scale, I'm sure, if you wanted to print it. When you sculpt this, what is the perimeter? I mean, is it really lengthy to say, all right, I'm going to do this quarter scale? So what's different than if you were to say, I'm going to do this in 6 scale? What's the difference?
Well, for me, one of the things that I'm trying to teach other artists and to make people aware of is that ZBrush, being a digital software, you can build in scale. In fact, if I'm going to turn perspective off and just give you an idea. This model is built in scale, and there's reasons that I'll get into this in just a second. But if I turn on this command and measure this bar tells me that it's 708 units. So 708 units is roughly it's just over 2 feet tall. Okay, because each unit is a millimeter, and 300 millimeters is roughly a foot. So I can guesstimate how big this is.
Okay.
What's it?
Unit is a millimeter. That's what you said.
A unit in this software is simply a millimeter. In fact, I really wish that we were taught metric, because it would make some of this work so much easier. I'm learning metric, and I'm frustrated that I didn't learn it in high school. But then again,
yeah,
not the only thing you skipped in high school. Don't worry about it.
Well, there were a lot of cute girls I went to high school with, but they wanted nothing to do with me, so it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, I skateboarded and got in trouble.
I was the kid that wanted to be left alone and left to read his comic books and play with cards and so on and so forth. Anyway, to get to the crux of your question, One of my primary jobs is engineering. People bring models to me to be engineered. I engineered some models recently for George over at Blackheart. I've engineered models for Ed. I've engineered models for different people. I don't think Rick has given me an engineering job. Usually he asks me to sculpt something and then I engineer it on top of that. But engineering is kind of a weird and critical thing. The point about building in scale or understanding your scale is that if you reduce the size of something after it's been engineered, the tolerances between the parts shrinks, which can lead to binding or lead to molding and casting issues where the parts don't fit together properly. You kind of have to do your engineering at the scale that it's going to be at. You can go up a bit in scale. In fact, George and I have had that conversation as well, where it's like you can take it up 2 to 3 scales. You might be able to take it down 1 scale, but any
we're
more
having
than that.
ZBrush do its.
Yep. Screensaver. Sorry.
No, I know it does. I know. Yeah.
My point basically is this. You want to build as close to your output size as possible because it means less headaches for the next person, and that's something I take a lot of pride in. Is making sure that I set the thing up so that the next guy down the line can just go and do his job.
Well, you just answered a huge question for me, so I
don't even know if that answered Scott's question because
that was the same question.
Scott looks just angrier and angrier and angrier.
I'm just looking at the sculpt. I'm like, I'm angry because like, wow. But
I had that question too. Is because how do you know? And a couple people have emailed me asking that same question of how do you know in your sculpting program how big it's going to be, or how do you make sure that you line up to be like, is it going to be 1/6? Is it going to be a quarter scale? And so to know that is a huge thing. So, and here's another thing. I bought ZBrush last week, so I'm already. I've only had about 5 minutes to mess around with it, and
when you're ready for a crash course, I will talk to you.
Absolutely.
Okay. The long and short of it is that if you build a model in here, it's most people, including myself, will build models, and the scale of the model is arbitrary. And what I mean by that is it does have discrete measurements. However, most of the time, because we don't treat the software the way we would with a Maya or a Max or some other major modeling package, we don't know what the scales are until we get into it. I learned the hard way when I was getting heavily into engineering that the model I had to figure out what the tools were in the software to get the model into scale. And the software has those tools in it, but they're not on the forefront of the technology. In fact, just real quick, I don't want to get into a ZBrush lesson, but just real quick, I use a combination of Scale Master. I use the system up here that tells me how big the thing is. I build boxes and measurement tools inside the project so that I know exactly how big a thing is. In fact, while this isn't a measurement tool, this can give you some aspect of what's going on. Come on, baby. Here it is. This rod here. We're going to use a steel rod. I don't remember the exact dimensions of the length, but I think I measured it out to 300 millimeters because when you buy brass rod or steel rod, I think it comes in 300 millimeter lengths. Mm-hmm. And the rod is measured at, let's double check it so I don't look like a jackass. So it's measured at 6.08 units, and I'm going to use a 5 millimeter rod. So that means I've got roughly 0.5 millimeters on the left and right of clearance for this rod when I go to plug it into the model. Okay. So I know things that they don't teach most people because it's not necessary with this software, but I'm trying to treat this at a much higher level.
So if you were to, now, will this eventually be molded and cast? I'm assuming, or
The first one's going to be 3D printed only, because that's what the client wants, and the client's been really nice with me. He's going to allow me to mold and cast it, and then we're going to sell it together. But primarily, it's my endeavor to take it to that point. Yes.
so you could cast it theoretically. You could cast it hollowed out where that rod goes and stick that rod in there.
Yeah.
If you were to just want a 3D copy of it, as opposed to
Well, I don't want to tell you all my plans and machinations, but
damn you, Eric. I
well,
want to know.
it's mostly because I want people to come at me and be really excited for the full thing.
Zinch never reveals his secrets.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Zinch is never mind. Warhammer, never mind.
Trust me, it's some kind of weird shit he's into. Oh, we have Warhammer.
At the end of the day, what you're talking about is absolutely true, and yes, it's very much in line with what we're planning on doing, because I'm going to print the parts that are already printed. I want to print them hollow. I want to backfill it with foam at 10. I want to make sure that all of the parts have longevity and are light and easy to work with. So yes. The simple answer is yes, Scott.
Is Scale Master a plugin, or is that in there already?
It's in there already by default. They do have a plugins tab, and it just happens to be something that's a default plugin.
Okay. I think, and I think this is what my story is going to be, and I think this would be what everyone's story is. And I tried ZBrush maybe like 10 years ago, 11 years, like when it first came out. I didn't buy it, but I had seen it or got a copy, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. I don't have time for this.
I was just finished teaching. I had just finished teaching 10 years ago. So
now when I've opened it now, it's still the same thing. It's very daunting when you look at it with just the sheer amount of tabs and menus. Where it's just like, ugh.
Again, I don't want to turn this into a ZBrush session, but it really isn't. It's significantly simpler than it ever. It's got more options and more tools in it, but it is simply simpler. It is so much simpler than it ever was, and you could do so much more with it than you ever could. But it's also the kind of thing where if you said to me, I want to do, a thing, I'm going to say you only need, 2% of what's in the software.
And that's, I think, my point is you have all this other stuff that you're never going to use probably, and you're really only looking for about 5 things. But when you first open it, you're like, oh, God damn it. What is all this?
And you know what? And I think that was something that, Tony, nice enough as he was to say this, he's like, just go and get one tool and use your fingers a lot. You don't need to buy all this crap. Most artists, and I know this now from practice and putting in the effort, most artists sculpt and design and work on projects with one tool or with, the top 5 tools in their hands. I mean, I have hundreds of tools. Look at this. These are all brushes in my system. I will tell you right now, including the one I just built, which is this thing all the way at the end. I used 6 tools. I mean, to make this object.
And that's my point. When you pull open that window, there's so much there. And you, again,
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There are things in here that I use, but 90% of it is specialty tools that I'm going to use for one thing or another.
And this is a selfish Jason question. The first 2 brushes that you just used to make that, what were they?
One was Snake Hook, and the one I'm doing right now is called Clay Buildup. And these are 2 of the oldest brushes in the system.
Clay Buildup.
Okay. Right. And what's happening here is that it's automatically tessellating because of this command here called Sculptress Pro. This was added. I want to say 4 versions back, maybe 3 versions back.
Because wasn't Sculptress a separate program by itself?
Sculptress was developed by another artist, and it was a separate program, and it got bought out, and they hired the guy. I was under the impression that he worked with Pixelogic to help develop more tools and more software. But this is very similar to voxels, and I don't. But it's really just an automatic tessellating system. For those of you watching and probably getting bored to tears with this, a voxel is just a volumetric space, and we use it excessively in the automotive industry. But what we have here is just an eggshell. In fact, if I crack this open and turn on double-sided, it's just an eggshell. There's no internal material. If I want internal spaces, I have to build them.
Cool. Okay.
So, in fact, you want to see an internal space? I'll show you something really cool.
Sure.
So, T.O. Rick hired me for a really fun model. And I love getting to work with Rick.
Rick's a good guy. We got to get Rick on. I gotta get him on.
Rick is one of my favorite people, not just because he's so encouraging of me and my work, but just because he makes it fun. You know, he makes it easy. He's not up my butt. So he came to me with an illustration and said, "I want this," and I was like, "Okay, I'll make you that." And what's going on here? I want to talk about this because this has internal spaces, and it uses some very tricky geometry. Now I was still learning about making toys, and I'm still learning. I don't know half as much as you and most of your audience know. But Rick and I were talking about this, and I said, well, I'd like to use brass rod or steel rod in here, or tubing. And we were just going back and forth on it. And he said, oh, we can put it at an angle. You just make one of them shorter than the other one so that you can bend it. And we used brass rod because he wanted to run a wire up inside of this so that he could put an LED in the pumpkin's head, which this is the internal space I want to show you. If I take the horse, you can see here, yep. This is the shaft for the rod, which goes into that bumper at the back there. And then that travels up through the body. And then there's the hole. And then there's a little tiny stem for him to sit on, so we can make him appear like he's free floating. But that goes up into his midsection and then into his head. And this model's engineered. Now, I did make a mistake with the engineering, so I'm not flawless. But Rick caught it, and he said, "I'm trying to frame this." He said it's not a big deal, and I'm gonna render this so you can see this here. But he was very happy with the parts. Each color, just so you can understand what I'm doing here, each color is its own unique part. The tail, while it is purple, is a different part than the body, and the arms are swappable. But this whole thing is engineered to meet the requirements. The one thing that had to be cut after the fact was the base. While it was a pretty good base, it was too big for the printer of the gentleman who was printing it for Rick. Gotcha. So I had to cut it after the fact, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah,
bringing this back to a garage kit thing for a second. What could someone who's a garage kit producer, in your opinion, when it comes to 3D printing, when it comes to digital sculpting, when it comes to classical using clay, what do you see them as using from this to make garage kits better? Do you think everyone's going to be doing digital in the next 5 years? Do you think there's still going to be people doing clay? Or do you really think this is the way forward? Is it the best way forward? Or is it just a tool that people can use to produce garage kits? If that makes sense.
Because I want to show you other kits related to what we're talking about. It's a tricky thing to say because here's the thing. A tool is a tool. You ask any good, mature artists. Mm-hmm. You ask any of the guys at Disney. You ask any of Tony's friends. You ask any of the people that I would love to just spend a weekend with. You ask any of them. A tool is a tool. It doesn't matter what tool you use to make art as long as that tool is working and for you and doing the job for you. That being said, I have adopted this tool. I started out with old tools. I have a waxer. I have all sorts of weird things. Is 3D printing going to eliminate molding and casting? At some point, yes. Is it going to diminish art? Maybe if you're not a good artist, or maybe if you don't care about the story that you're telling or the art that you're putting out there. I will say this though. Some artists flex that they do it the old way. That's great. Good for you. But I heard something not too long ago about dragons. I love dragons, but there's a lot of dragons being made. And I don't remember who the artist was. Brilliant artist. I know their skill level. I don't remember their name. But they basically said this. They said, I will never sculpt a dragon because I can't bring anything to that story. I can't contribute to the progress of that story. And they basically said, that's why I don't want to do it. And I was like, I applaud their efforts, but I think that they're shooting themselves short. But it's also like, you go to a show, you go to a convention, and you see a dozen dragons, and none of them elevate the story or elevate the idea or concept of dragon and change the there's a proper word, but I'm just going to use story again. Then why are you bothering to do it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's I will never shit on somebody that's trying, but I also think that you should pick the best tool for the job. I used to have students who would say to me, they're like, I have all sorts of great stories, but I used to have students who'd be like, I'd be like, you could paint a house with a hammer. You can paint a house with a hammer. It's going to be a very different paint job than any other tool that you could use. And are there better tools? There are. But if you're dedicated to doing that for some reason.
Eric, don't tell him this because he will be painting his house with a hammer next time.
Well, okay. So you meet a guy that builds a house.
You make a bunch of circles.
Yeah. If you meet a guy and he builds a house and he tells you, I built this entire house with one hammer and one saw, most of us will say you had to work significantly harder because you didn't go and get a nail gun, because you didn't hire a crew, because you didn't use a saw like an electrical saw to do the job. But for some reason, they felt it in their heart that they had to do that. Who are we to tell them that they're wrong?
True.
But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm interested in telling stories. So I use 3D because it's fast, it's convenient for me, it makes sense to me, even though I had a long period of time to learn how to use it, do it right. I mean, I used to do this in ways that most of the people that do this now would be like, what is this black magic that you speak of? Because we don't use it anymore.
Why?
But yeah, now that I bored Scott to tears and he wants
to
he yawns all the time.
I yawn all the time.
He's out of
I'm
shape.
old.
It's a tool. That's the short answer. It's a fucking tool.
Okay.
And if you like tools and you adopt tools, you're all gonna get it.
Cool.
Now let me show you something fun. Let me show you something fun. You guys think of this. So I'm gonna show you two more quick models, and we can talk about anything else. So this one here is one that Ed really wanted me to do, and I started it, I mocked it up, and I'm playing with it, and we're gonna call it a tack on grass cutter, I think. And it's supposed to be sort of an homage to some of the stuff we see in future models or future toys. And it's basically this anthropomorphized hornet, stabbing this poor cricket man through his chest so that he can steal his body and lay his eggs in it. So this is I can't promise this, but I'm gonna be hopefully working on this for Wonderfest this year.
Awesome.
I'm really excited to play with this and work on it. In fact, I was tinkering around with this before our session, and he's not fully anthropomorphized. These hands I just dropped in, so I had hands. Let me show you another one.
Real quick, future. What's with it? It's funny. Like the guys that are Scott's age and older is classic monsters. Guys that are in their 40s, like you, me, and Ed, it's future models. Like that's it's crazy how it kind of breaks down like that. And a lot of those guys are not interested in future at all. Whereas as you and I, that's my stuff. That's the kind of stuff I really, really like.
I think I know what it is that.
Careful. I'm just kidding.
I can only speak for me.
Okay.
I didn't get to see any of the classic movie monsters until I was in college. I didn't see any of the classic movie monsters until I was in college.
That's why I hate
Um,
Breakfast Club. I didn't see it till college.
Well, I did see Breakfast Club when I was in high school, and so I was born in '76. So I grew up with. I did have Tom and Jerry, but I grew up primarily with '80s cartoons, and somewhere along the way, anime was introduced to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Akira,
Yep, same path.
and I was like, the wheels have come off the train,
Okay.
and holy shit. I couldn't get enough of it, and I was like, this is all there ever was and ever will be and ever should be. And I didn't become like a complete, I did become kind of a nerd for that, but because it was so
I think for me it was Akira, Ninja Scroll, and Fist of the North Star.
Oh yeah.
When I saw those three, I was like, okay, this is it. This is where I am. And then it led me into Nirasawa and Takea. Like, yeah.
Yep. And
Speed Racer?
Speed Racer?
No,
We had Speed Racer. Yep. We had Speed Racer. But Speed Racer came in second to frickin' Transformers.
Well, that's fun because I teach junior high and they're all, and the crazy thing is it's 95% African American, where like probably even more. And they are, so many of them, of my students are into anime, which to me, it was always a white kid thing. Like these are this nerdy white kid thing. And it is completely the opposite at my school. And they'll say, I like anime. I'm like, oh, you've seen Akira, right? And they're like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it's like, how have you not seen Akira? And they're talking about and it's the same conversation. It's like Scott and I talking where he's just like, what the hell are you into? And they watch, what is it? They're really into Attack on Titan. And there's one other one. I can't even think of the name of it. And I was like, that's the dumbest stuff I've ever seen.
Here's the thing. I am a complete, because I went to an animation school and I wanted to get into special effects and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am a complete nerd for almost every type of film and media and movies. In fact, Ed and I were working today and both of us were talking about how much we absolutely loved the Thing, the old one, not the new one, the old one. And we're like, this was so cool, But here's the thing: is I watch a lot of the garbage that's out today. Like I've watched Attack on Titan. I couldn't get enough of that's Naruto when Naruto came out, because
that's one that they're on to. Yep.
Yeah. Naruto's almost 20 years old.
Right, but there's new stuff that's either come out because a lot of them like that. And then there's it's the one that they're really into now. I'll edit most of this out because it's just me talking. Is that it's about a pirate ship almost, and the kid wears a straw hat.
Yes,
that's all I can.
I've
One
not
Piece.
Watched that.
Is it One Piece?
It's One Piece. I've not watched One Piece, but I will tell you, I've not watched One Piece because I watched the first 4 episodes and I'm like, I really can't, because the style of
I know that's the thing. It's the style, and that's what they all love. That sort of style.
But here's the segue that you need to understand. What was it when we were kids for the black kids in California? It was Wu-Tang and all of the ninja movies.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see any of that shit on the East Coast. I didn't find out about that stuff until I was in college. And then I was like, my childhood was gypped. somebody fucked me over. It's
wait, you didn't have Samurai Sunday by you?
Nope.
What?
I grew up in Connecticut. And
Where do you live now?
I still live in Connecticut. Never, ever, ever heard of it. I had to go to find that stuff in college in the black market video sections, and I was like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Oh no, we had in Chicago, we had Samurai Sunday. Remember, Scott? It was
nope.
No,
you didn't watch that at all either.
No,
oh my God,
no.
Samurai Sunday on I think it was channel 60, and it was nothing but old kung fu movies and stuff. It was the best.
I was so angry when I found out that people were watching that shit and I didn't get to see it.
I'll have to find a picture of that and post. It was yeah. There was always
It
kung
was-
fu movies and samurai, like old, Chinese.
But
I'm
it
still
was-
stuck on. You didn't see the classic monster movies till you were in college. I'm still.
Scott's.
That's still on my mind.
I saw him as a kid.
It's like
Well, okay, so Scott, my very very first movie, and my earliest movie memories were Ray Harryhausen's what was it? The Argonauts. Was it
Jason and the
Argonauts?
Argonauts.
Jason and the Argonauts. Okay, and then the first two films that I saw in theater that I can remember seeing were not in this order. It's just the way I can remember it: Ghostbusters and E.T. And Ghostbusters gave me nightmares because I was so little. Dude, I was born in '76.
No, I know.
Star Wars came out the year
Yeah.
before I was born. I don't roll your.
I was 74. I like.
That's all right. I'll
I
die.
remember
before
seeing-
you
I
guys,
remember
but I saw
crying
Star
watching
Wars on
E.T.
a big screen when it came out.
I did. I do remember seeing. All I remember from seeing Star Wars in the theater, I think I was 3, was the trench scene. Like that stuck in my head. The first movie I remember seeing in the theater. Oh man, no! The first like movie memory I have, we've talked about before, is War of the Worlds. Seeing that on TV at home. That's my first movie memory.
That's crazy.
And I remember going
But
to see E.T. at River Oaks Theater, Scott, right over here, and crying my eyes out when he's in the bag, like all frosty white. Because behind River Oaks Theater, there's a creek. You know that little creek that runs behind the old theater? I was
Called
like,
the Little Calumet River, but
the
yeah.
little cow. So I go home. I'm like, is E.T. in there? Like, because how they find him in that little creek in the movie. And I was just like so traumatized. Anyway, that was just on the other day. Anyway, all right. What else were you going to show us? We took a movie.
Okay, so
Turn.
so I let me go. So so I'm doing a couple of dragons. I'm only going to show you one of the dragons because the other one needs to be a surprise.
Gotcha.
But I showed this one to Rick. Actually, this alternate head was the one that he was like, he's like, I really love that alternate head. You should put fins on it. And then I said, because I want to do swap out heads with this. And it's not going to be in this pose. This is just me building it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the software is saving. While it's saving, let me mention this. These characters are set to a dimension. These are my mannequins. Now I'm going to be building a new mannequin, hopefully this year. But these two mannequins are part of the way that I know the scale of an object. Because if I'm building a 1/6 scale, this guy's going to be 12 inches. If I build a 1/12 scale, this guy's going to be crap.
Like 9.
Here we go with the math.
Yeah. It's 12 is 6 and 6 is 12 is basically what it turns into. So anyway, since I know what these are, why is it taking so long to save? Since I know what these are, I can basically justify everything, but I also can build a ruler in here, like a cube. I'll take a cube and I'll turn it into a ruler, and I'll put it at the maximum dimension and the minimum dimension. There it goes. Okay, so you can see the model. So it's supposed to be and I showed these guys a style sheet earlier. I have a style sheet that has every type of dragon body style. So this guy is I think this technically is a wyvern.
Yes.
So it's got legs and wings.
Yep.
But I showed this to Rick and he got me to put fins on it. And I said, oh, I haven't shown you the alternate head yet. So I took the head off. I showed him the alternate head and he was like, oh, that's the one I want.
Yeah, I love that.
And when I get a surprise like that, when I get to surprise somebody like that, I really enjoy it. And this head is actually based loosely. It's the base model is the one that I used to make Rick's custom dragon. So we made a dragon for Rick about 7 years ago. And he was like, I really love that. He's like, you're going to make that available for me, right? And I was like, yeah, of course, man. So
I like
this
that head a lot.
Thanks.
So I have a question on your mannequins.
Yeah, what about them?
So you have mannequins there. Those are whatever 6 scale. You probably have quarter scale ones. So when you do a figure
Actually,
for someone,
I just change them. I just change sizes depending on
Okay.
the scale I need them to be.
So when you do a figure for someone, you start with your mannequin. Is it a safe thing that, okay, I'm going to do a human figure, so I'll start with this and pose and then move on from there? What's the process there?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. What I found is that I purchased these mannequins off of, I think, like Cube Brush or something like that. Anyway, I purchased them. And I found that they're not terribly accurate. Right now, I'm just using them as stand-ins, so they're not terribly accurate. So what I'm doing is I'm doing something very similar to setting up a wire mesh. I have an accurate human skeleton, and I take that accurate human skeleton and I use that as my wire mesh, and then I position that in the pose that I want, and then I fill it in.
Okay.
So I'll drop on material and I'll add material to it. So I'm actually sculpting very much the way that I learned to sculpt from Tony and Simon and all the guys that everybody wishes they were. But I'm doing it in the computer.
Gotcha.
And if I go back, if I go open up Black Panther and I go back far enough, I can grab the skeleton. I can show you the skeleton in the pose that we settled on for the client's request. I actually took the mannequin and put it in pose around the skeleton initially. And that way the client could see what I was shooting for and what the positions of everything was. But the style sheet also had the style sheet we have for it. I'll show you guys a style sheet. So for those of you that are interested, you can get this software called PureRef. It's free. This is the style sheet that I used, and this was the pose that we were looking at when we set up Black Panther. We ended up spending a lot of time talking about the pose and what the position was and what the costume looked like and so on and so forth. So I pulled this from one of the books that I have, which it's just full of poses. You talk to any artist, they don't work in a vacuum. And any artist that tells you that they do work in a vacuum where it's all just coming from their head, either isn't very good or they're a liar. Everybody that's a good artist uses a shit ton of reference, and or they are at the peak of their craft and have more experience in their little finger than I will have in my entire life. So I mean, while I might design this based off of reference or without much reference, if I'm doing humans or anything real, I am sitting down and I'm making measurements and I'm checking references, and I'll even get up and act out the pose if I think the balance is wrong. I do it all, and on my desk there are six books, including Pop Sculpture and Bridgman's Complete Guide to Life Drawing, and even Hogarth and Perot. All of these are books that I use to sculpt people and sculpt lifelike stuff. Plus, I go to the masters. I go and look at Simon Lee. I go and look at. I've got several books from Stan Winston Studio.
Can we just talk about how good Simon Lee is for a minute? Like, I know he's insanely, like, I still think in Garage Kit world, there's people that don't respect how good he is.
I'm gonna pull my desk over.
Yeah. Hold
on a second. You know who's I will tell you why he's good. Just give me a second. Simon Lee figured out early on.
That's a Simon Lee. That's a Simon Lee kid sitting right there.
Okay. Which one do you have?
That I have a lot. That is
then
the Who Goes Monster. That was his new one. The Who Goes Monster, but then I have like a box full of other ones, and I have a bunch of them painted.
I hate you.
I have a lot.
He before he like fully blew up, he and I talked briefly, and he also got me some information. But I was able to get the last one of Grayskull, which I painted in a faux bronze.
That's one I don't have. That's a beautiful piece.
I love this piece, but I bought it mostly because it was one of the only ones I could get.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I have, which I will slap your mama. is probably one of the single best pieces he did.
That's the
which is
other one I don't
Medusa.
have. That's crazy.
I love Medusa so much.
That is a.
And Mr. Bradley has agreed to give me some lessons, and we might be repainting this.
Cool.
So
very cool.
Because I do a very basic poet painting. Well, okay, so here's the thing I learned about Simon. I spent a lot of time looking at Simon's work and breaking it down recently, both in the past and recently. And most of what's going on with Simon's work is he leaves it gestural, like our buddies, the Shiflett brothers.
Yes. Yep.
And I've talked to Jared and Brandon about this a lot. And the looseness isn't what makes his work good. What makes his work good is he could have been an animator, because the characters are always leading with something. They're leading with their head. They're leading with a hand.
They're very dynamic. They're very dynamic.
Right. And because they're moving through space, even when they're static objects, they are superior to almost everything else that's out there. And while I don't want to crap on anybody, I'm tired of the Superman pose, the very iconic, boring, I can't tell a story pose.
We talked about this before on another episode, where some people really, what you're saying is, some people like the really dynamic stuff. Some people like the character just standing there with their arms folded, and it depends on the character for me. Cool. What is that? Goblin?
That's Mr. Anthony Watkins.
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. There's another guy.
I love Anthony to death. And I pestered him and pestered him and pestered him. And I said, I want you on my podcast. And he was like, I'm really shy. I don't have the time for it. I appreciate it. Stop bothering me.
Yeah, Anthony does great stuff.
He does, but I got to meet him quite a while back, and he was very kind, and he and I talked quite a bit, but he was also like, I don't want people. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to talk about it. It's fine for you and me to talk. It's fine for it's fine for this and that and the other thing. But I'm not. He doesn't want to be a public figure. He wants to make his art and be left alone. And I appreciate that. And I love him for Tony. It. But I also disappointed, because I think that he has so much more to offer.
Tony is like that too.
Tony's always telling us, I hate people. I just want my dogs.
I think. I haven't talked to Tony in a while. In fact, when I got interviewed for 80 Level, I sent him the article and I said, hey, thank you for helping me get started. And he's like, okay. And that was it. I was like, I wanted to have a conversation. But, you can't force yourself on people. And my excitement and enthusiasm for
you got to catch Tony about 11 o'clock at night till about 2 a.m. We found that out last week.
I'm sleeping. I wake up and there's... Anyway.
Until Tony's having a printer problem.
Oh yeah,
that's
you won't hear from him.
Different story. Okay.
Well, I think it was one of you guys that said, Tony's become very focused on what Tony wants to do, and don't bother him. I was like, okay. So I can be disappointed and still love the guy.
Yeah.
So let me show you this model in case you get more questions. Yeah. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
So I didn't really want to do a lot of superhero stuff, but I couldn't help myself. I'm going to do Mojo, and I'm gonna see if I can have Mojo holding up an X-Men or one of the characters by his neck, like he loves to do. And I love that Mojo's moniker is one of the spineless ones, but I love building wacky hard surface stuff in ZBrush, because people are like, how can you do that? I'm like, because I'm a madman and I know my tools. But I haven't worked on this guy in a bit. I started him and I put like 3 days into him, and I'm just sort of like itching to get back to working on this. Because he's got those bingo wings.
Yep, some good old bingo wings.
I want to work on this so bad. But I showed this to Rick, and he liked a bunch of things. He said I had made some smart moves about the legs, and I talked to him about the pose. Again, it's in an early state. I haven't really spent as much time on this as I would like. But hot. Check this out. So in here we got a tool. I got a tool I'm going to show you real quick. I got this tool, and I use this with a couple of other things, and it's just a really great way to create sort of like that nasty, effed up, wrinkly, chewed on skin texture. Um, you know, there's one next to it. Is that it? No, that's not it. This is the other one. Oh yeah, this is fun. But this is one of the many reasons that I love this kind of thing, because you can kind of come in here and you're like, I want to make something that just looks like
Yeah,
it
that's
looks
gross.
it looks just nasty and dirty. And I actually that's the other thing. I have a friend who works in film, and he saw me playing with this, and I told him with the new molding process that I've come up with for the work that I do, or with 3D printing, that we could create progressive wounds for applications on actors or on performers' faces. And I walked him through my process, and he's like, you need to shut up right now and don't tell anybody that you know how to do this, because you're going to come do my special effects. I'm like, I don't know how to put things on people's skin without poisoning them.
Poison them.
You need to get a makeup artist. We don't need
Use crazy glue. You said it's not that bad.
the Wicked Witch of the West over here. Poor woman's face is sloughing off because you used green paint full of mercury.
Mercury.
But yeah,
it's what grows the plants.
I want to say this. I want to say this too, and I'd love to field more questions, but I want to say this too. I lament every time I hear some of the old guard saying that this hobby is dead, and I'm like, it's in its infancy. It has so much room to grow, and so much potential, and so many opportunities. And every time I talk to Rick or George or any of the guys that are supportive of me, I just want to explode with ideas and just start chucking resin out the door. It may not be what it was when people in the community started it, but if you don't continue to nurture it, of course it's gonna fucking die.
Yeah. I really think it's in a cocoon stage. Like there's some really cool stuff happening, and I think if people keep doing it.
So that leads me to a couple things, and that is one thing I'll say is, as far as George Stevenson, George is very adaptable in that he's gone from the rubber mold garage kit guy to vinyl, and he did this. Then he went to the big life-size heads. Then he went to this miniature show and he saw that stuff. He was like, hey, that's a whole different market. So he kind of got into that. And I think he called Jason at one point about STL files and talking to him about that. It's like he wants to adapt.
But he's also a romantic. He loves this stuff.
Oh yeah. And so it'll bring me to my next question then is that we really didn't touch on, and I don't know how much you do. So do you sell STL files, or have you thought about that yet, or where are you with that?
I'm pulling back from selling ST files. I had released with the team of people I was working with for tabletop games. We had done a set of dragons, or not dragons. What did I say? Dragons, dinosaurs, and someone from Russia purchased or got a hold of the files and basically put them in a group with a bunch of other people, and basically blasted them out there and undercut us right after my Kickstarter for that project was finished. So all of the residual income we were supposed to make with that content evaporated, and it was such a kick in the head that I said I'm gonna go back to physical content. There's plenty of people that don't own printers that want content. They want good content, and they don't want to be dealing with 3D printers. And I'm gonna 3D print, mold, and cast what I need to, or I will hire a molding casting guy to work with me, and or Ed, and we will make what people want. But and I know that there's recasters out there, but I'm so disgusted with having my work stolen so soon after release. I know there's a certain amount of theft. I know there's a certain amount of pooling of resources by young kids to get a file, like a $20 file or a $50, batch of files. I would have rather given it away than have someone steal it and make money off of me like that. I really would have. And it hurt because I can't fight it. I can't go after the guy. I can't make a phone call and say, hey, WTF. It sucks. And
How often do you think that story happens?
well, when it happened, I think it happens. I think it happens more than people would like to admit. And when it happened, I wasn't the only one. And the people I worked with, we all started going and grabbing the images of the art and using Google image search, finding the artist either on ArtStation or any other number of places and saying, someone's stealing your stuff. And almost everyone responded with the same thing. I know, or I thank you for telling me, but we can't do anything about it. This person set up a server and that was, had a address in Pennsylvania or something like that, but it was routed through out of that state into Russia or into what used to be Russia. And my business partner at the time, he was retired NSA, and he said there's not a whole lot we can do. We couldn't even get the server or the address taken down. And I was just sort of like, I was like, I'm trying to make a living doing this. And I do have peers and friends and compatriots in this community, and people are like, this is part of the business. And I'm like, well, then the business needs to change, or I need to change how I do business. So
what do you think the best, for people who do want to sell STL files, what do you think the best way to go forward is to mitigate stealing and mitigate theft?
There's really only two ways I can think about it. One is make it so that it's stupid cheap. I mean, we're talking so cheap that you might not make your money back on it. That's the first option. The other option, actually, there's three options now I think about it. The other option is use a platform like Kickstarter, or there's another one that I'm really interested in called
the fundraiser, because that's one I've been buying stuff.
Yes. I'm super interested in Fundraiser. And I've been doing some reading up on it, where you basically say, this is the goal I need to reach, and then I'll release the content. And after that, all bets are off. That does feel relatively good, because if you're like me and you spend 2 weeks to a month on a model, you need to get your time's worth out of it. But basically putting it out there and just saying, universe, do what you will with it. It's a little hard for me, because when we look at big tech companies, if I go and buy a piece of software, I don't own it. I have the rights to use it, but I don't own it. So they get to do both sides of the fence. Whereas if I make a thing and put it out there, I have all the rights in the world to it, but I have no way of imposing those rights on the world.
Yeah,
and that's really sucky.
And I've tried to educate at least garage kid people that are watching and stuff like that to support the artist.
And I know you have, and I've seen you mention it in the 3 or 4 videos that I've watched of you. I appreciate you doing that.
I try to drum this in, because the bad thing about CG Trader is once you buy a file, you can't buy it a second time.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that too. Yep.
So, become friends with the artist and the guy that does a lot of these cartoon kits. I've got a couple I'm getting ready to print for someone, and I tell him, in my price is the cost of that file, because I'm going to pay that guy for that file, because it's like he did this work. And if you don't pay him, it's not going to be there. He's going to stop. He's going to say, I'm not making any money. Now, that being said, I got to believe that there's still money to be made. And I'm with you. It's going to get stolen. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't know if it's a community like the Garage Kid community that tries to police itself a little bit and weed out the guys that they know are sharing files and stuff like that. And I don't think what's hurting them the most, not that it's right, and even Jason and I don't do it, is that if I buy a file or Jason buys a file and say, "Where'd you get that?" He'll go buy it. Okay. Now I could easily give it to him. Okay. And two friends doing it back and forth isn't necessarily going to kill everything. But when you got 102 friends doing it back and forth, then it will create a problem. Okay. Yeah. So for that reason, I still go buy it. It's like.
But I think that the difference between you and a lot of other people is,
wait for it.
You appear to have worked for a living, and you know what it is to work for a living.
Oh, now you're going to say he was a good guy.
That too.
Well, what I'm going to say, the people that have had to work for a living and know what a thing costs to make are much more. It's the same reason. Okay, there are three jobs. There are three jobs or groups of jobs that I think every young person should be forced to do. At some point, they should do maintenance. At some point, they should work in the food industry. And at some point, they should teach.
Done all three.
I've done all three.
Yep.
But working in the food industry, even as soon as I was working where I had a little bit of disposable income, if I went out to eat, long before 20% was even reasonable, I was giving 20% because I knew what it cost to do that work.
Can you figure that 20% in your head?
Oh, I can. Yeah, absolutely. It's
okay.
Super easy.
Because I was with Numbnuts here one time, and he's figuring the tip, and I told him what the tip was, and he's like, "Nope, got to pull out my calculator, my tip."
That is not my strong suit.
I'm gonna say this. I'm absolute garbage at math, but learning how to do engineering and learning how to tip has increased my math skills 100-fold. And just so those of you that think that a calculator is the only way to do it, 10%, it's $1 for every $10. So 20% is $2 for every $10.
You see his head? Do you see his head exploding right now?
As soon as I start hearing numbers, I'm like, I'm out. I can't even.
It's easy. $100.
I don't even want to think about it. I don't even.
Yeah, see, he'll crap his pants right in the.
I can't. Yeah, it's like having. I just can't.
He will. His
eyes crossed, and he starts saying, "Would you like to buy some rubber nipples?"
Yeah. Now that I understand, that's Ren and Stimpy.
It's just like fractions. Okay, there's people. I read a tape measure for a living, so
I can do that now. I can
divide fractions quickly and to
I have to look at it.
All that, and then it's not a problem for me to convert to decimal. Okay,
I have to look at it and ignore the numbers and count spaces.
He just
Well, when we're talking about scale, I have a 6-inch ruler floating around here. I have several steel rulers, but I have a 6-inch, and I bought it just for this purpose. 6 inches is roughly 150 millimeters. I don't want to spend time typing it into the computer to do a Google search to figure out what the conversion is. I need to know it. So 300 is a foot. 150 is 6. 50 is roughly 2. I can do most of that. So that I can build a thing in scale, and that my customers and I are not pulling our hair out when we go to 3D print.
This is why I'm not doing this. Right there.
Well, it's what it is. You learn the skill.
Yeah.
You learn the skill that you're going to use on a daily basis, and that's why I got these skills. It's
4 inches is 100 fucking millimeters, Jason. Fucking do the math from there.
What?
It's 25.4 millimeters to an inch. So 4 inches would
we're
be
done.
Over 100
We're done
millimeters.
with the numbers.
And that's our math class for today.
That is our math class for my year. I'm done. Where can people find your work? Where can people find you do have a small YouTube channel, I think, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah.
If there's anywhere else you want people to be able to find your work, hire you. How do people get a hold of you?
Weirdly, most people find me through word of mouth. I'm mostly on Facebook. I'm going to be getting a website up this year. Even Ed has gotten on my case about my Instagram. I have been working so hard on other people's stuff that I don't have nearly as much web presence as I would
I
like to
know
have.
exactly how that is.
In fact, when I so one of the models that's on my YouTube channel. So my company, my brand is called Bad Tentacles. Okay. So if you look up the website, it's there. It's just not there. But just so everybody knows, while this is getting a slight modification, that is my logo.
Okay.
I'm into movie monsters, and I'm into monsters in general. But Cthulhu was my jam, and I love tentacle stuff. So Bad Tentacles is
Excellent.
when the website goes up, I will be selling either content that I was hired to make or content that I'm making for myself that other people want. I've actually talked to Rick about a couple of pieces that he's willing to join me on. But yeah, Bad Tentacles, and that's my YouTube channel, and
Okay.
that's how I met Eric Sosa, and I've met Eric Sosa a couple of times, but he saw me. Ed had hired him to make a model, and then it had to be engineered, and then the engineering didn't work. And Ed came to me a year later and said, "Hey, can you engineer a model for me?" So I re-engineered it and put it up on YouTube. And then Eric said to me, "Hey, can we have a conversation? I'd love to meet you." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So that's how I met Eric Sosa.
Is it
and that's,
that devil man that doesn't fit together behind my head?
yes,
Okay.
I redid the Devil Man, and Ed wants to make a version of it where we can put glass eyes in it. So I took it so that it cuts through
I think he was talking to me about that too.
yeah. It's
Very cool.
It's a great model. By the way,
Thanks.
I want to tell you, I know that we want to cut this short to some degree. I want to tell you guys a story about engineering and Mr. George Stevenson.
Yes, absolutely.
I love George to death. He is such a great person. Um, he came to me and he said, "I need you to engineer some models." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." And I was like, "How did you like the engineering on the Triceratops that I did for you?" And he's like, "You did the engineering on the Triceratops?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "I didn't even know that." And I was like, "Well, I think I might have been subcontracted." And he was like, "Okay." So a few weeks go down the road, and here's these four models for him. And he gets a couple of the models in. He is ecstatic. And he's doing this with the model, trying to show me how it goes together. And I'm like, "George, put the model down before you break it." And he's like, "This engineer is so great. I don't have to do anything."
Okay.
What's that?
He does the same shit. He'll like hold a model up.
I drop everything.
He drops everything. And I said, "Put it down before you drop it." He did it last episode. Okay.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I love the idea that I'm able to do something that I think is really. It takes a lot of skill and craftsmanship to do engineering and do it well. But it is not. It's a tedious process, and it's a headache, and I get paid well for it. But once it's done, I'm like, it's almost like making butter. It's like, I'm happy that it's done. I don't want to think about it again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But to see George so excited, because I've never saw him excited before, because George was very,
He is very, yes.
he's very even. But to see him so excited about that, man, it made me feel good.
I know a couple of his projects are very secret that he has coming out that are going to be 3D
Yes.
but will people like them? Like thumbs up, thumbs down? Like tell us, because I kind of know what one of them is, and it looks really cool, and I want to kind of get the buzz going that there's going to be something coming out pretty cool. If you can give some sort of like just agree with me or not, like but...
he did show off the Uhura
he did it. Yep.
shuttlecraft. Now I built and engineered that. I don't know as if he's gotten a copy of that yet. I'm super excited for that, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to cry about that model for one reason or another. Both good cries and bad cries. Bad cries for those that's going to hurt them in the wallet. Good cries for those people who are like, they made something that I've always wanted but I've never seen before. Um, the last, I think I've got 6 models under my belt with George. Five, the other five, I really think that some of these are going to. Let me put it this way: they're all going to sell out. He's not going to be able to keep them.
Yeah.
He's not. He shows up with what he shows up with, and it doesn't matter who else is there. If you've bought a kit from George, you need to go to George's table first because these models are going to sell out. That's the only way to put it.
Okay. All right, that works. That's perfect. Cool.
As for his other model, I don't know if he's going to have it at Wonderfest because I don't even know if I've finished working on it.
Okay.
But that one, I'm personally excited for.
Yeah,
but that's a different story. I hope everyone's happy and safe and healthy. But partly for this channel and for everybody who loves this hobby, community, whatever, go out and tell your friends about it. Go out and share it with everybody. I think that we need more people in the hobby. And it doesn't matter if you're a classic movie monster fan or an anime fan or a Kurosawa fan, or it doesn't matter what you love.
Or a Peter Jackson fan.
Well, we can't help the people that are going to be licking the windows, man.
Oh, another one. What is this? You're not ganging up on me. Not ganging up on me.
Hey, potatoes.
That's good.
I love that stuff. But no, I have to play both sides. But I want to say this. If you're in your garage and you're not sharing this with other people, of course the community is going to continue to shrink. Invite people in, teach people how to do it. Find maker spaces and give lectures on painting, give lectures on modification. Ed has been losing his mind about doing a mod video where all he does is take a model and cut an arm off and then put it in another pose to modify a pre-existing model. He already does it when he has somebody make a custom head for a model where he's like, I love the body and I love the pose, but this face looks like it's been using its face for a doorstop. And I'm like, who sculpted that? It's like, I don't want to talk about it. If you're sitting in your basement and you're not contributing to the community, it's going to continue to shrink. And I'm sorry, but that's not the way that this should be.
I think that is an absolutely amazing place to leave it at a very positive note. I think everybody, when I hit like on Instagram or anything and I put in like hashtag garage kit, there isn't much, or hashtag resin kit or any of that. So anytime you're sharing pictures on Instagram or anybody, hashtag garage kit or model kit or resin kit, just to kind of get it out there so some kids might come across it and be like, hey, what's this? I think that's an awesome place to leave it.
Hashtag Scott Johansson.
Oh, we could do that. oh yeah. Let's do that. Oh, it's going in. Eric, thanks for joining us today. This has been great. We'd love to have you back on again and do some more ZBrush stuff. And this has been awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we're going to make you give us a crash course.
All right. That was an interview with Eric. That was pretty cool. We stayed on about another 40 minutes of just him showing us ZBrush stuff. So really cool. Reach out, check out his YouTube channel. It'll be linked here down below, Bad Tentacles. You want him to work with you on some private commissions? He's your guy. He's doing a lot of stuff for a lot of people and great to work with, I think. And I look forward to, reaching out to him and getting some stuff I need figured out at some point.
I got him set up. We're going to have weekly classes with him.
And they were trying to teach me math and
yeah, that didn't work.
So that was awesome. Thanks, Eric, for joining us tonight. It was fantastic.
Trying to teach a fucking fish how to breathe out of water.
Oh, I hate you. We're moving on to voicemails and emails and corrections. Did we have to fix any screw ups from last week?
Yeah, let's show another picture of Bublik here just to keep Paul Gill out of trouble. I mean, here's Bublik number 2. And yeah, Paul,
right.
Better
Cool.
keep sending those pictures or you're going to be in big
Uh
trouble.
huh. All right. There's our one correction. Do you want to start with the emails or the voicemail?
Oh, let's start with a voicemail.
Okay.
Who sent us a voicemail?
Who do you think sent us a voicemail, Scott?
I don't know. Fucking probably that fucking moron that lives in Ohio, that other teacher.
Whoa, wait a minute. There's a lot of people we know that live in Ohio.
Sorry. Well, I said the fucking teacher.
Oh, okay. All right. We have a Brian Clark email or voicemail. Sorry.
Oh boy. Nothing
Here we go.
gets me off more than listening
Happy
to his
New Year,
voice.
Model Club TV. It's your favorite English teacher. I'm calling because, well, first of all, the last couple episodes I didn't call in because, I just wanted to see what would happen, and what I thought would happen. Scott, I'm in your head. Even when I don't call in, you're thinking of me. Constantly, I'm there. I'm that little voice in the back of your head, in your brain,
Jeez.
reminding you
Guy
of
drolls
your
on
human
and on and
pinata,
on.
that you are not anything close to what I am. Jason, hope you're having a great New Year, you dime store Santa Claus.
Dime store Santa Claus.
Putting all your
I
freaking
could see that.
pictures of me up. Yeah, I told you I'd get you back. Cutting and pasting me. You're lucky you didn't leave my daughter in there. I'd have to drive to Chicago.
At least that's. I didn't leave his job.
Do like my boy said, Sean Connery and the Untouchables. That's the Chicago way. Gentlemen, I hope you had a great New Year. Scott, I want to say that, Scott, your personal messages to me in Facebook, I find them disturbing on many levels. All right, guys, have a good one.
Wow. Are you sending him personal messages on Facebook? What are you doing?
Allow me to retort.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Oh, retort.
He's right in that I'm not close to him. I'm at least 20 pounds lighter. Okay. All right. So, let's start with that. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Second of all, I don't buy into his I'm just sitting back listening bullshit. Okay. No. Okay. It's taking him like 4 weeks to even come back at me with something. All right. The messages he sends us, okay, are about how he's like watching these things in his classroom when his kids have come back storming in and he's got to like scramble for the button to turn us off because, of what's being said at the time. So I think this gentleman has an infatuation with me. And
oh boy. I don't like this.
Yeah, I think he wants me.
Oh boy. All right.
And
yeah. It went in my head. I envisioned it.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that recording and I'm
No.
going to take it into the shower with me tomorrow and I'm going to beat one off to it. And,
Oh boy. All right, we're done.
Put that on your blooper reel.
Oh, that's staying in. All right. So we have our first email is from Todd at Escape Hatch Hobbies.
Todd.
Hi guys. As promised, a couple updates from Escape Hatch. The 1/13th scale Tony Cipriano Frankenstein's monster is now available, based on Neil Adams' artwork created for Aurora Monster Scenes advertising and I think instructions. Available with the traditional jacket or Son of Frankenstein tunic, this kit is entirely 3D printed. He'll be released in larger scales when I have time. I'm leaning towards 1/8 or 1/15, or perhaps as large as 1/6. Masters are printed. I just have to mold them. Stilson Green did the original box art. The one for your giveaway will go in the mail soon. I think it's on the way. So I think next episode we're going to have an Escape Escape Hatch Hobbies giveaway from Todd Powell, which is awesome. And thank you. So I didn't see anything here on the door today. So I think he sent it out on Friday. So it'll probably show up tomorrow, but we had to record tonight. So next episode, there will be an Escape Hatch giveaway. Thank you, Todd. Lots of photos and information. What?
Can I enter?
No, that's straight up no. Can't do that. We have photos we're going to put up here. I'm also coordinating the release of Tony's box art Hulk in at least 2 scales. Escape Hatch has teamed up with the sculptor Michael Berglund to offer his productions, including his new Gigantorora mummy bust. Spring Hill Jack and the Heap will be available by the time you do your next episode, which I just saw on Facebook today. So those are out there. The Mummy is a traditional 3D hybrid. The main part is resin cast. The snake resin printed. Michael is the sculptor for Monarch's Fly Kit, which will be out sometime this year. He's working on a number of complementary projects that will be available through Escape Hatch. And then I have some, those will be here as well. I'll put all these links in the description. Joe Ludati's Day the World Ended is coming very soon. A bee monster in Aurora scale. I plan to release this Friday. So when did I get this email? January 4th. Did that come out?
No.
No? All right.
Well,
look for it coming soon. Maybe?
Yeah.
It did?
I don't know.
All right. We'll double check.
By the
might
date
be
is yeah.
All right. Day the World Ended. Rainer Engel did the box art and instructions. So that probably looks pretty cool. And here's a preview of the page, which goes live soon. Sticking that up there. More coming soon, including Mick Wood's new King Kong and a 2, or is it 4, kaiju-style replacement heads sculpted by Joe Ludati. Also, watch for an ambitious guillotine add-on set. What would that be? Do you know what it is?
It'd be cool if like the head came off and the whole spinal cord came off. Awesome.
That's very cool. So we'll have we'll put all those links down below. All right, this is from Peter.
Todd, where's the Hulk, Todd? The Hulk, Todd.
Oh, no, sorry. From Dan Cherney. Hello, Jason and Scott. I've always been a fan of the Freddy Flypogger flip-out kit. It was originally released by Monogram back when I was a baby modeler. It was the second kit I ever built, and it holds a dear place in my heart. While I have a few pieces and parts of my original kit from about 60 years ago, it is missing enough to make it an undisplayable piece. I was incredibly excited when Atlantis announced they had obtained the original molds and were going to release it in 2021, probably summer. With all of the delays in things these past years, I contacted Atlantis in October to see if I could find out the status of this kit. The reply is as follows. Hello, Daniel. I am sorry to say we had to cancel these kits as we could not secure the licensing with Stanley Mouse, who created the characters, Peter. So, Scott, Freddy Flypogger is not happening. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't remember seeing these kits as a kid. I know what they are, and they're cool. They're along the Ratfink weirdo line type of thing, and I wish they would have been able to put them out. But never say never. The molds are there, so never say never.
Could happen eventually. I had never heard of it until you mentioned it a couple episodes back, and I was like,
right.
So, and then Dan Cherney also sent this email. I just got it as we're recording. Hey guys, I know that Chi2 Box is pretty much the go-to slicer for 3D printers, and I started with it myself. Now I use Lychee Slicer, and I find myself really enjoying things like the automatic supports feature. Which slicer software do you use and prefer? I think Scott and I'm not going to speak for Scott on all of this. On part of it, I will. We both use Chi2 Box, and that's only because that's what came with the printer. Yeah. Is that the same for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it isn't broke, I don't fix it.
That's kind of, and I am the opposite. I usually try and fix unbroken things. And so I have been thinking about downloading and trying Lychee. I did hear the same thing, that their automatic support is better than Chi2 Box. But I do like doing a manual supports. But Lord of the Print always releases lychee slicer settings as well when they do their Patreon stuff. And so I want to give it a try. So one of these days I may pick that up and just try it, see how it is. But I have been using Chichu Box with minimal problems. I think their automatic support sucks. A lot of times it always misses stuff. Like it always misses.
Well, I think Tony
Always.
does this too. I auto support, and then I go into it and add.
Yeah. Yes.
And
But I would like it to pick. It misses a lot. I think it misses more than it should.
but it depends
when
how
it
you
comes to
orient
odds.
the
Yeah,
kit.
true.
You know, and that's one of the things I've gotten better at is I try to orient the kit so that the supports are going to be on the smoothest part of the kit. So when you do have to sand them off or do any work to them, you're not like trying to dig in there with a piece of sandpaper or something. You're on a nice smooth area, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So,
All right. From David Horvath, a couple other questions in here. Hi, Jason and Scott. I'm all caught up on the previous episodes, and they have been a great source of information, inspiration, and fun. How does this happen? I'm ready to dip my toe into 3D resin printer game.
I have a blast too, Dave.
He's such a pain. I'm ready to dip my toe into the 3D resin printer game and would love to see a show talking about various features of the existing printers, sort of what features, designs to look for, and what to avoid when comparison shopping show. It would be a great help for those of us wanting to move into this next field of modeling, but don't quite know what we are going to need for the figure and modeling sides of the hobby. I would like to print available files up to 1/6 scale figures, but eventually I'd like to start making my own detail parts for figures and vehicles. Any advice you could pass on would be greatly appreciated. I'm wanting to spend around $600 for the printer, the wash and cure station I plan to make myself. Thanks for your hard work and putting the podcast together for us. I hope Jason recovers quickly, and I wish you both a blessed year. So, a couple things in there. I want to start with the last thing first. I did recover quickly, and I want to say thank you to every single person that either left a comment last episode, sent me a message on Facebook who said, get better soon. I hope you feel better. And I sound a lot better for the most part, other than the mumbling.
You notice you make no mention of the fact that, like, I called you every day to see how you were doing.
No,
okay.
I thought we wanted to keep up the charade of you hating me.
Well, I do hate you. I was trying to get the passwords.
No, Scott did check on me. A bunch of people kept checking up on me to the point of was like, I just want to sleep. Leave me alone. But it felt good to know that some people actually care about me. So, but yeah, I saw that. You watch. I'm gonna die, and then you're gonna feel fucking terrible.
Yeah, it'll be 2 for 2. Okay.
I still have some lingering like congestion, but my brain, like, I can't think even worse than before, which is weird. But okay, the rest of this, $600, Scott. I would say get a Saturn. There are some other options.
Yeah, there are other options. For $600, the Saturn is a good entry level machine, and I think you can actually get it for like $450.
Yeah,
now.
it's less.
It's a good entry level machine. There's been a few bugs with it that generally Saturn will send you replacements if there's issues. We each had the motherboard issue. Tony's had the motherboard issue. So
yeah, there's been some of that. Yes,
there's been issues, but there's going to be issues with everything. My biggest piece of advice is, it's basically all the same technology. Start watching videos.
Yep.
And learn about the process and learn how it works and learn the terminology and all that. Because the biggest mistake, I'm on some of these Elegoo boards, and it's like these guys are puncturing their FEP sheets and they're leaking resin all over the place. There was a guy that posted he had the resin leak that you did, and it was all down in his motherboard and stuff. And he's like, "Am I screwed?" And I'm like, "Well, not till you go to change something."
Yeah.
But And Jason and I have talked about this, and some of these people on these boards are not real friendly, and they get mad when you ask the same newbie questions. And it's like, I'm like, just answer the question. Does it kill you? You know, can you imagine if a guy like David Fisher had to fucking explain his flesh tones, like, you know, every time he did it, he got mad and said, "Ooh, watch the video," you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, you know, don't be a dick.
But
But, so
I th-
watch
go
a
ahead.
lot of, and the other words of advice I would have is contact Jason or I off, you know, on Facebook or whatever. And we'll send you a list of some things that were sent to us or we learned on our own of things to buy that'll really help you when it
And
comes to this.
we could pass it forward, pay it forward, pay it forward. You know how Jamie printed us a bunch of parts?
Yeah.
I'll gladly
Yeah.
film some of those things. I'll send them out too.
Oh, yeah.
I think the one part about him
RP.
wanting to print 1/6 scale figures, anything. I think the other ones that Elegoo make, like the Mars, are probably you might be able to squeeze a 1/6 scale figure out of there in parts, but I
Mhm.
think a Saturn is a pretty good size piece.
Right.
Here, real quick, keep talking, Scott.
So you are at the mercy of how the file is cut. So when I say this, is your build area is only going to be so big. And you can't print a 12-inch figure all in one piece on a Saturn. Okay, you can't do it. It's not big enough. But you know, most people split the piece at the waist or whatever, kind of like a regular garage kit. And so you can print bigger, but you have to make sure that the biggest piece of the model that you're going to print will fit in your build area. So that's the best piece of advice I can give. And we're gonna pop up a picture here of the Saturn build area just so you see it. But like I say, you're not gonna be able to print a 12-inch figure all at once. It's gonna have to be broken down into parts.
So
And I think Jason's gonna
this is a
show it.
great spot for me to come in because this piece right here is almost as big as you can print. So this printed upside down. All right. It hasn't been cured yet. That's why I'm wearing the gloves. So this printed like this, and it was still sticking in the liquid resin when I was done because of the way I had to support it, which I think was like this. So this is about, you can get a little taller than this with some things based on how you angle it. But this, for what you're looking for, so these are the two pieces as a female sculpture. So right now I'm sitting at it this tall. It kind of like, that's how big that is in pieces. So a Saturn, I think you can get a quarter scale you can pull out of there too, just depending on how it's broken down.
Yeah, while you were gone, that's why I explained it. Depends on you're at the mercy of the piece breakdown
Mhm.
and how big you can print.
And there are also ways to recut pieces if you want to get into that and take that STL file and break it even further down. I've seen a guy, he's printing a life-size trimmer head on an FDM printer. Have you seen that guy? Like
yes,
the graboid
Yeah.
guy who somehow
Yeah.
broke the file down into these tiny little pieces and he's
these little
piecing them together.
squares and stuff. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. So I'm at the mercy of so
anyway, so that's where
the
we are.
answer is yes, you can do 1/6. But no, not all at once. It's a great place to leave that. Yeah, okay. When he knocks it over, everyone. Okay. Remember the piece that he dropped an episode or two ago? Turns out he did break it.
Yeah, we know. So I think that's a great idea for a full episode, though, is to walk through all that stuff and kind of, we'll find somebody to come on to talk that through.
Either that or that would be an opportunity for you to either come here or if you want to just film at your house. And I don't want your COVID ass here anyway.
That's right. Your wife.
So, but, so we can say, okay, we bought this for this, like these rubber mats.
Yeah.
Bought this for this. Okay. We bought this for this. Jason and I both bought the washing cure station, and
I really think you have a pre-wash as well. I don't.
Yeah, and the pre-washing is really cool. It does help as well. And this is something maybe we could cover on a how-to. Maybe we'll do
Yeah.
a bonus episode, a 3D printing bonus episode. Because again, it's not everyone is interested, you know. I'll pull this out right now. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh boy.
Okay. So this is a little $26 tool. Or is it 30? I don't even know. This is one of the most invaluable things in the world. Okay. And the reason being is it's an ultraviolet light. Really strong. So if you saw when Jason held his piece up, it's got holes in the bottom. And the reason being is when you go to cure it, you've got to have light. And look at that. Ooh, special effects.
You're gonna blow out your camera.
So this is the most annoying thing about this is it beeps every fucking 5 seconds. And it only stays on for 20 seconds at a time. But you put that over the hole on the bottom and you cure the inside. You know, after you've rinsed it, you may still have resin in there that needs to be cured. And you just stick that underneath there for 2 or 3 cycles and boom, it's cured. So
Yeah.
these are the kind of things that you should buy along with the printer.
That's what I'm saying. If you go for a Saturn, you have the $200 left over, you can buy some of that other stuff you need to get, or get some resin. All right.
So, and
yeah, that's a great, I think.
And unlike Jason, okay, get yourself used to whatever kind of resin you want to start with. Okay, I'm not a fan of the water washable stuff, but
No,
there
that
are
did not
people
work for me either.
that are. But find something that works and get it to work for you first. And then if you want to screw around with other resins.
Screw around with everything. I am the exact opposite of Scott.
No.
It's
Learn how to
try
print.
everything.
Okay.
Try
Learn
everything.
how to print first. What's funny is though, this is a guy that says try everything, but won't try the bed leveler. And as soon as I tried the bed leveler,
that's cheating.
filament printer, look what I printed.
That's cheating.
Okay.
All right, from Scott Lookabill, we have some more 3D. This is kind of tying into that. That's why I'm going to kind of scoop ahead. Scott Lookabill. Hello. Hope you had a good holiday and now feeling better. I am. Thank you. So I was hoping to ask you a few questions to feel free to discuss on any parts in the show, if you'd like, broken down by sections. 3D printing. Since you guys are in the Chicago area and a cooler area, are you doing anything heating-wise for your resin trays or printing areas? Also, what setup are you using for the wash and curing? Are you using the Askue or any cubic wash and cure systems for the Saturn size or something else? So, it is 65 degrees in this room right now. And I printed that thing I just held up, and it printed fine. Now, I'm sure if you went on the boards and said you did that, someone would eat your ass alive and tell you you're doing it wrong. Most of the time, it's been really cold here in Chicago lately. It was like 5 degrees the other day. It was 19, I think, today. So it's been cold. And the only option I have is this room, and there are no heating vents in this room. And my printer is up against a basement wall, basically, so it is cold over there. I was worried about it. If it gets any colder, I think I would have to maybe put a space heater around. But as of right now, it's 66 degrees and I think might have been 68 degrees when that thing actually printed. It printed fine. No problems. Scott's basements I know is a lot warmer than mine. So it's not like this. And we just mentioned it. Are you using the Askue or any cubic wash and cure systems? I am using the AnyCubic. Scott got an AnyCubic wash and cure. I really think it's worth the extra money. It really, I think, helps. The Askue one looks pretty cool. I almost thought about moving it. I like that little tiny cylinder one they have for little parts. I was thinking of maybe trying that, but I think I would, if you're getting a Saturn, I would spend the extra money and get the wash and cure. Like, I think it's well worth the money. Scott, anything you want to add to that?
No, I'll agree. I do a step as well. I'm trying to find a bigger container though, because when I first started, I would take my build plate and literally just take it off the printer, drop it into the anicubic wash and cure, balance it on the basket there, and I would turn it on, and that's how I would
Yeah.
rinse my stuff. And it was awesome. Then I'd pull the plate off, and then I'd knock the pieces off the plate, and that was it. Now I've taken to, and it was from our friend Jamie Sy, a pre-dunk, basically. Because what that does is it makes and I use denatured alcohol, and I think Jason does as well, makes the stuff in the wash and cure last a little longer because you get the initial loose resin off in the pre-dunk. And but in order to, my pre-dunk container is, because you want something that seals, you don't want the fumes escaping all the time.
You don't want to store it next
And
to your furnace.
yeah, and I've had no problem. But so you sidetracked me. So I'm looking for a bigger one so I could still dump my whole plate in it and then take my whole plate and put it in the wash and cure. But for the time being, I gotta scrape the plate pieces off now and dunk them and then put them in the wash and cure loose. And I just like doing it the other way. That's the only drawback I have. But I really do like the pre-dunk system and getting the stuff out of there. So
Yeah. The other thing that we both bought, and we've used it in different ways, is the distiller to recycle our alcohol. I think that should be everyone's third purchase. I'm not even kidding, because the amount of cleaning alcohol you go through, recycling any little bit of it, I think is going to save you some money in the long run. And that thing's going to pay for itself. Scott bought it first, and he just like, hey, dude, get this. And you get it off of Amazon. It's an alcohol distiller, tabletop, and it works great. Like, it just works great.
And Jason hasn't burnt himself yet, so. And
yeah. Let me continue. Hold on, because there's other stuff in here. My current area is probably right at the minimum temp to be printing, and it might slip lower at times. Just looking for ideas there. Also, I really don't like my curing chamber I got, and my ultrasonic cleaner is only okay as far as I can tell. So contemplating numerous options, just annoyed that they announce a bigger printer, but not a bigger wash and cure setups. I have a feeling that's coming.
Oh yeah,
shortly thereafter that printer's out. I have a feeling. But
and
yeah,
technically
we're probably printing the
was
same
not
time.
Designed for the Saturn.
No.
But it does fit. The
Yeah.
build plate does fit in there. You can actually, and if you wanted, we could do it for you. You can filament print some adapters for it so that you can just set it on the basket that's in the. And that's another thing that's good about the wash and cure station. It's got a basket. So when stuff's done, if you don't put the whole thing in there like I used to, and you just drop parts in there.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I just put the parts.
When you're done, you can pull the basket up. And it's like a French fry basket. You pull it up and you let the stuff drain for a little bit. What I'm surprised no one has done yet, I'll use Thingiverse people that might be watching, is a little something that I could hook on the container to hook the basket on and let stuff drain out.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's those are the
and then he continues producing. So for my comments, you've likely figured out that I have various kits I'd like to either see made or maybe even produce myself. Right now, I'm still in the early stages, have a list of characters, scenes I'd like. Now trying to decide on the next step. If you were to pick for a bust of a character from a live action movie, would you go clay or would you go 3D digital? In my mind, I want to learn digital so I can always replace my master or do prints if only selling one a year, aka not worth molding or keeping it molded. Scott, I'll let you answer that.
I think so far what I've seen, that it's still hard to beat a clay sculpt for a likeness. However, there are a few out there that we've seen that are really close or really good. So I think it's possible to do it digitally, but you got to be really good You got to be really good. And so let's take the Frankenstein monster, for example. There's a few of them out there. And I've yet to see one that would beat a Jeff Yeager sculpted one.
As far as likeness goes, there's not one out there. Jeff killed
Okay.
most.
That being said, Jeff can sculpt the monster in his sleep. But that being said, there are some guys that have hit some likenesses. Remember the one that's on there that everything was in red and he had a Loki?
There's some amazing likenesses.
Okay, so there are some good likenesses out there.
The Johnny I got from Cobra Kai is dead on.
Yes.
Dead on.
So the answer to the question is yes and yes.
But I think what he's more going to, like, producing wise, what's the best way to produce it?
Well, first of all, if you produce a clay sculpt, the very first thing you should do is pour yourself a master, put it in a box, and put it away so you can remold it. Okay? Because the clay sculpt may not last forever. So pour yourself a master and stick it in a box somewhere. And that way you can remold. You always have that to remold. Okay? That being said, yes, to digitally sculpt something and you could just go print it whenever you want. Well, that's the advantage of the game. That's the game. That's the advantage of it. And it's, if you can get a good likeness, sure, that's the way to go, and print them as you go.
But let's say 100 people want your bust.
Well, then
it's
then
tough
you're
to
better
print
off
on
molding
demand.
it.
Then you're better off printing it. Yeah, because it's hard.
Yes.
You're going to be printing for nonstop for a year.
Yes. And again, and I think I've said this before, and Jason knows this, I'll explain it. There's two kinds of printing, obviously. There's filament printing and there's resin printing. Okay. And they both print in layers. Okay. Resin printing, it doesn't matter if you fill that whole build plate or have one little piece. If it goes by height. Okay. However tall it is. So the taller it is, I don't know how long it took you to print that thing back there, but I'm guessing in the 12, 13 hour range.
The mug or what?
No, the girl, the bottom of the
that
girl.
was the skirt by itself was 13 hours.
So that's 13 hours. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing even a 1/6 scale bust, you may fit 3 on a build plate at a time. But you're going to be running your printer for about 8 hours just to make 3.
Yeah.
How many can you make traditionally molding and casting in resin? So again, it's going to depend. Now, if you want to just say, all right, I'll mold and cast them, and then once the molds are shot, if someone wants one in the future, I'll print one. Sure, you could do it that way too. Okay. Yeah. Now, the difference with a filament printer is on a resin printer, this thing, the Benchy, I think on a resin printer, that would be a 3 or 4 hour print just because of height. Okay. And don't forget, you'd have supports and your base. So, and just this little chimney would probably add a half hour to your print. Mm-hmm. Okay. This prints on a filament printer. What was this? An hour and a half? Hours? Okay. And the reason being is on a filament printer, you're printing by volume. Okay. So volume means how much material. Okay. So height has nothing to do with it. It's how much material. Where resin printing is all about the height. It's all about the height.
Yep. About layers.
So I don't know if that helps, but
yeah, I think it does a little bit. He also said, I've got so many different kits I want, from quarter scale busts to wall hangers or similar in large scale to ships, and some possibly unique ideas I haven't seen in the past 5 years. I would say pick one of those ideas, pick your favorite, and just go for it. If you want to sculpt it yourself, you're going to have to learn how to do that. If you want to pay someone else, there's plenty of people. We had Eric on here. Reach out to Eric, reach out to any of the other sculptors, and just hit them up and see what it would do, what it would take to get that made. So the more kits out there, the better. The more 3D files out there, the better, that fall into stuff we like, I think, the better. But that's it. That's our emails today, Scott. That's our show, Scott. Aren't you happy it's over?
Fuck. For good?
No. Not yet. So that was the show, Scott. We do have some new people that sent in stuff for the user or the viewers gallery at the end, and some great stuff from Kendall Conniff, a thing in progress that he's working on. And thank you everybody that sends pictures in. We do appreciate it. Scott, I think that's it. Have we solved all the world's problems today?
I want people to hit that like button. I want people to subscribe if they haven't subscribed. And this is something we haven't talked about yet. Okay. But when these Rondo Awards come by, let's see if we can't get nominated.
If we could get nominated for a Rondo Award,
that would be awesome.
That would be amazing. I don't want to, we look like we're fishing for that, but that would be funny as hell if we were. The email is modelclubtv@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. If you would like to send us a voicemail, that number is 708-816-4299. So thank you all very much for watching today. And
that's 10 numbers, huh?
Yeah. Is it?
I'm surprised Brian Clark can fucking dial that many numbers at one time.
Thanks,
fucking
everybody.
House hate.
All right. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.